was asked to go out for play hockey, and I'm like, there's no way I'm going out with a bunch of guys, and you're hitting each other, you're sweating on each other, you're breathing on each other, you're spitting on. That's just not going to happen.
Good for you.
People are out there doing it.
I'm glad you made that decision.
Well, I don't have a choice. I mean, can you imagine me bringing it back to the 20 lawyers and 20 staff at the office? I mean, my God.
I see a liability suit in your future.
I see me being voted out of the partnership.
Okay, we're live now.
All right. We have a little bit of time, right?
Yeah, we have about 4 minutes.
Okay.
And still looking for Tim and Tim. Yeah, I haven't suspended mine yet, but I don't think we'll be going back till something changes.
I think it'll be the spring, to tell you the truth.
They
Yeah,
don't want you to suspend it.
Yeah. I've known Ed for so long. I want to support him, even though I'm not going. I mean, I'm fortunate. I have a nice basement gym with a lot of weights, and my kids just bought me a power rack, which is nice. I used to have one. Now I have another one, nice new one. And my wife and my daughter bought a Peloton treadmill.
Oh, wow.
Which, wow. It's unbelievable. So we're fully, we have all the stuff to work out and do that.
Gretchen, is that planning board Gretchen?
No, that's
Is
the
that right, Cal?
applicant.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, there's 4 people in the waiting room. That's fine.
Yeah. Gretchen Reichelt is the
one
second
of
new matter. Okay.
Yep.
Second or first? Let me see. Where's she on the list? Oh, Reichelt's first.
Yep.
Kim, are we going to see John tonight?
I believe so.
Oh, wow.
I think I have a lovely skunk outside my window, so that should be fun for 2
Yes.
No smell-o-vision yet.
Oh, on my end it is. Oh, well. Country living.
Yes. Did you figure out a way to get the 2 Patel resolutions up?
Yes, I just took it so that I just took the issue 4 section and just put them side by side.
Good. Okay.
It might be a little small on the screen, but I'll try to zoom in as necessary.
I'm just going to, when we go through the 2, I'll just highlight those two areas, and we'll have a discussion on it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go.
Hello,
Hi,
Hello,
Tim.
Tim.
Hey, Tim.
how are you guys?
Good.
Good.
So let me turn on my picture.
Yes, so we can see your beautiful face.
I read over briefly, I read the last month's that I missed. It's pretty good, captures it pretty well. The
Good.
sound quality on whatever it is, Yoo-hoo or Zoom, whatever it is that you get through the
Through the town's website.
yeah.
Well, that's always good. That's always good to hear somebody watching it, how it comes across.
Yeah.
Did you remain awake throughout the whole thing?
Most of it.
You're forgiven a short snooze now and then.
Absolutely.
See, Chris has got carrots on the.
What?
It looked like in the small picture, it looked like a table full of carrots.
No.
Okay, we're on the clock.
There he is. Hey, John.
Ready when you are, Scott.
Yeah, we should probably wait for
Everybody?
Tim Econopoulos.
Okay. We haven't been practicing. Econopoly.
Econopoly. Oh, whatever. Timmy.
Timmy.
Oh, Dave wants food run over to his house.
Does he really want some? I have peanut noodles. Does he want to meet me at the fence?
Or maybe Mark, I don't know.
Martha's not home.
Oh, she's not. Oh.
Does he want some? I'll give him some.
Yeah, but he's on the Zoom thing, so, okay. At some point, do you think we should start if Tim's not here, like by 5 after or something like that? And
Yeah, I mean, you have a quorum and.
yeah, that's right.
You know, so he can always catch up, join in whenever he wants to.
Okay.
It's 7:02 right now.
All right, we'll give him a couple minutes.
I'll be right back. I'll just step away for a minute.
Lively bunch.
Tim, is Tim on?
Tim Allen,
I'm sorry?
Tim A is on.
No,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Not to me.
Is Tim Econopoulos on? Because I just saw an email from him asking if the meeting was still on, as if he couldn't get in.
Yeah, that just came across to me too.
I'll respond to it
Yeah, say,
and say we're on, so maybe he's got the wrong number.
I'll send him the codes again.
unless he has another name that's not showing up on the waiting room, but I don't see him yet.
We have a fair amount of folks.
7.
Oh,
Most of, several of them are applicants though.
All right, I emailed him the meeting codes again in case he didn't get them.
Okay, great.
thanks, Fred.
Yep, there he just popped in.
There he is.
Very good.
So, Scott, you want me to let everybody
Yeah, let's let everybody in. And I can do my spiel and we can get going. There he is. Very good. Is that everybody, Kim? Yeah, let's
think
let
so.
everybody in. And I can do my spiel and we can get going. There he is. Is that everybody, Kim? Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. Looks like I don't see anybody else in the waiting room.
That should do.
Hello?
Hi, Miss Welker.
Oh, hi. I guess I have it working now. I hit the wrong button, I think. How's everybody?
right.
Good?
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for October 21st, 2020. And before I get into our agenda. I just want to read an opening statement and Ms. Walker,
Oh, all right.
something's going on with the sound.
I can hear you.
It's one of the people that joined from the public.
Good evening, everybody.
Fred, can you put everyone on mute except Scott?
Appeals me.
Yeah, hang on a second. I don't know what's going on.
2020.
Echo.
Our agenda. I just want to read an opening statement and Ms. Walker. Something's going on with the sound.
Should I mute everybody or?
It's one of the people that joined from the public.
Good evening, everybody.
Somebody's playing back the video and they're also on the call. They have to stop and play back. Hang on a second. I don't know what's going on.
But Fred, can you mute everyone?
No, I can only mute one at a time. I see.
There you go. All right, can we have everybody mute themselves?
I think I can mute people.
Can
Oh,
you?
You can mute them individually,
I don't know how to mute myself.
but we don't know who to mute.
Well, if we mute everybody, then we can get going with the
Yeah.
beginning of this, and then as each applicant comes up, they can be unmuted and
They're all, whoever it was is muted now.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't hear it anymore. So I think you're
I
good.
don't either. All right, I have confirmed with the ZBA Council that tonight's meeting has been convened in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order 202.1, which suspends certain provisions of the Open Meetings Law to allow a municipal board to convene a meeting via video conferencing, and the Governor's Executive Order 202.67, which extends such suspension until November 3rd. As such, there is no in-person meeting for the ZBA, and this meeting is being conducted via Zoom video conferencing. In accordance with these executive orders, the public has been provided with the ability to view tonight's public meeting via Zoom or to watch a live stream of the meeting on the town's webpage. In furtherance with the executive order, a transcript will be made at a later date. This meeting agenda has been duly noticed on the town's webpage, which notice was accompanied by information as to how to access and view this meeting. Okay, first order of business is approval of the meeting minutes for the September meeting. Did everybody have an opportunity to?
If you want to just do a quick roll call, just.
Oh, okay, sure.
And then in case anybody is listening via telephone.
All right. Is Catherine Clark here?
Yes.
Tim E., are you here?
Yes, I am.
Tim A.,
Yep.
Mr. Tobias,
Correct.
and myself. I think that's everybody. Did I miss anybody? And we also have counsel Kim Garrison and John Lyons with us. Okay. All right. Did everybody have an opportunity to review the meeting minutes for the zoning board meeting for September 16th?
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions, concerns, corrections?
Whistling.
All right, hearing none, I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as presented by the clerk. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And I'll do a roll call for that as well. Catherine,
Yes.
Tim E.,
Yes.
Tim A.
Not in attendance last month.
So you're going to abstain?
Yeah.
Okay. Dave Tobias
Aye.
and me, yes. All right, passed. Okay. The first matter on is the Reichout matter. And if somebody is here for that application,
Yes,
make
I'm
yourself
here.
known. Okay.
Gretchen Reichelt.
Hi, Gretchen. Have you been through this process before?
Nope.
Okay. All we're looking at right now is whether the application you put together and submitted is sufficient for us to review the case. And if we think that it's sufficient and we have enough information, then we'll accept it and set up a public hearing for it. Okay. So all we really need you to do, I've read through it already, and it's a pretty simple application, but if you could just, for the public, go through the application. What are you requesting?
Okay, so I live at 57 Pilgrim's Progress Road, And I'm putting up a 34 by 36 foot barn with a 10-foot overhang for my farm animals. And I'm seeking an area variance to locate the barn closer to the front lot line of the property than the house. So the barn won't be visible from the road. Will be no negative impact on the neighborhood. I can't put it behind the house because there's wetlands there.
Okay.
That's about it.
All right. And I see that you gave renderings as well of what it's going to look like.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, maybe you can put that up as well.
Before the map disappears, oh, there it goes. We'll come back to it, I guess.
Okay.
Oh, thanks, Kim. Gretchen, I'm just curious. This is my annoying question for the night. Where's the septic field and well?
The septic field is directly in front of the house. Right.
Right where it says existing residence?
Yep.
Okay.
And the well is right above where it says Rhinebeck, above the existing residence.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And you have, I think you said, a little over 18 acres.
Yep.
And this is going to be set pretty far back from the roadway.
Mhm.
Okay. And I assume where it says barn, that's where the barn is going to be placed.
Yep.
When we always do a site inspection, that's what the barn's going to look like.
Yes.
Okay. We always like to have the area staked out so we have a general idea when we go do our site inspection where it's going to be. And so I don't know, is it staked out yet? The general area where the barn is going to be? Okay.
Yep.
So if we go out, we can see where it's going to
You
be.
can see it. Yeah.
Okay. As far as going out there and taking a look around, would we contact you?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. Any particular reason? I know you said that there's wetlands behind the house, so you can't put it back there. And it looks like the septic's in front of the house.
Mhm.
Any other reason why it's going to be where it is? I mean, there's looks like there's
It's
no
just-
other
there's
place
a
to put it.
flat spot right there for it. So,
Okay.
yep.
All right. Okay. Does anybody from the board have any questions about the application?
What was the measurement for the front property line from the barn? Do we have that on the drawing?
It was on the it was on that map. Was it?
Which map? The site, the first one, the site plan?
Yep.
Okay, I'll go back to it.
Yeah, I don't. Well, it's like 365 from the properties in front of it. It looks like that's the closest, and that would be the Stephen property, which abuts Pilgrim's Progress. And it's 180 feet from the side yard.
Yep.
Was there any other structure on that particular location?
Nope, just the house.
Okay.
Any other questions, concerns?
You mentioned there was going to be a 10-foot overhang. Is that going to be off, looking at the illustration that you provided of the barn, I couldn't see where that was going to be. Is that going to be off to one side?
Yes. It will be off the side towards Pilgrim's Progress.
Okay.
Is this it right here?
Oh, okay. Some of the, never mind. I just couldn't see it the way I had my Zoom screen fixed.
Okay.
I
Kim,
understand.
if you have barn rendering 2, it shows the overhang.
Yeah, that's good. Any other questions, concerns?
Does the tree that has squiggles through it, is that meant to be, you're gonna be demolishing that?
No, I just,
Or
the
is
way
it
it was
dying
cut
or
and
what?
pasted, it was kind of in front of the tree, so I made the tree in front of the barn.
So the driveway for the barn or the road to the barn goes into your existing driveway?
Yes. And so the driveway goes around a curve right there, and then the barn's just off the curve.
Got it.
And the curve takes you to the house, I presume.
Yes, yep,
And it's for keeping horses?
yes.
Okay.
And do I remember right that it said it was going to be a steel building or no?
No,
That's
it's
the
wood.
next one.
Okay, thank you.
No, this is wood.
Okay, yeah, I thought that looked like wood, but
Yep.
All right, for my opinion, the application is complete enough to be accepted. I'd like to get my board members' thoughts on that.
I agree.
I agree.
Agreed.
Okay, anybody need any other information before we go forward and approve it? Okay, at this time then, I will make a motion that we accept the application and that we schedule a public hearing for November, Chris,
18th.
18th. Gretchen, is that a date you can make?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And what'll happen then is we'll advertise this. Your neighbors will be told of what you want to do. We'll have a public hearing and you'll present the same application and you may be asked questions about it and that's a public hearing. Okay.
Okay. I do have one question.
Sure.
Is it, I know this is not how things usually work, but would it be possible to do the site plan and prepare the resolution before that meeting so that we can get approved at that meeting?
Yeah. We
Only
typically,
because I'm trying to get shelter for the animals before winter. And then pushing it into December kind of makes it more difficult depending on what the weather is going to do, obviously.
I think we can consider that. I mean, it's unusual. Typically, the way we work is that we go to the public hearing, we have the comments, assuming the public hearing is closed, which it has to be closed before we go forward and start deliberating on it. Assuming it was closed, typically we do the resolution at the next meeting.
Yes.
We have 62 days from the date that we close the public hearing.
I'm just
But,
wondering if you could make an exception for this or if that's.
I think we've done it in the past. It is a little unusual. John, Kim, any guidance on this? I mean, it's a fairly simple application, so
Yeah,
that makes it
think,
easier.
yeah, I think that we can try to do it if you get the site visit done.
Yeah, I would like that too, to get mine done, please.
And we'll see if we can get a resolution together. You know, we'll need the cooperation of whoever's writing the resolution to try to get a start on it before the public hearing. Of course, if any issues are raised at the public hearing, then, you know, just so that Gretchen knows, we can promise to try on it, but we have to observe the process. And if there are objections raised, you know, we're going to have to follow through and, you know, consider them before the resolution gets issued.
Okay.
I'll
Thank you.
take the resolution if you like, Scott.
Tim, you'll grab it? Great, thank you.
Yeah, I haven't done one in a while. I'm sorry. No the way.
Okay. All right, so Tim, you can draft something and we'll do the best we can, but again, we can't guarantee anything.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
So, all right, I put a motion out. made a motion that we accept the application. Tim E, yes or no?
Yes.
Tim A,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes,
and me, yes. Okay, so we've accepted your application and we'll schedule it for the public hearing on November 18th. And again, it's the same process pretty much, only you may have neighbors asking questions.
Yep, no problem.
Okay,
Very good.
all right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And pursuant to the cheat sheet I have from our council, it looks like this is a type 2 action under 617.5C17, granting of an area variance for a single family residence. That sounds about right. And I'd make a motion that we accept the application and deem it under secret to be a type 2 action under 617.5C17. Do I have a second?
second.
Okay. Tim E,
Yep. Yes.
Tim A,
Yep.
Catherine,
Yes,
David,
Okay.
and me, yes. All right, and the referrals is just to the planning board, it looks like, and it's the CAB, is that right, John?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, to the town planning board and to the CAB, just given the size and the openness of the property.
Okay. All right, anything else we have to consider on this application?
What was the secret number, Scott? 617?
Yeah, 617.5C17.
Okay. Thank you.
And did we vote on the public hearing? There was a first and second
Yes,
on that?
I actually kind of lumped it together that we accept and we set it for a public hearing on the 18th.
Okay.
Tim, the seeker site is on the grid too.
Okay. What else?
Okay, the next application is the Barrett application. Is there somebody here for the Barrett application?
I am.
Okay,
Hello.
hi,
Hannah
how are
Barrett.
you?
Good, thank you.
All right, I assume you saw what occurred with Ms. Reichelt. It's the same kind of thing. If you could just take us through your application.
Okay.
Just, again, I've reviewed it and I'm sure my board members have reviewed it. It's a fairly simple application, but still for the public's knowledge and for ours, if you could just take us through it.
Okay. So my name is Hannah Barrett and I live here at 317 Mill Road with my wife, Laurel Sparks. And this is survey of our property. We are applying for a variance in order to construct this shed down here. And we're applying for a variance basically because our property is fairly small and the setbacks that are required by the town of Rhinebeck, we can't meet them within our property line to put the shed here.
And I know you submitted a survey from Marie Welsh, and that I think.
Yep, that's what we're looking at here.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at right here, and that's sets it out pretty well. You'll be happy, David, that the septic is actually shown on this. Is this, and it looks like it from looking at what Marie has put together, but is this basically the only place that the shed can really reasonably go, given the topography?
Yeah, it's a fairly hilly piece of ground, rather hilly. And this is flat and sort of below our driveway. Mind you, this whole area is less than an acre to begin with. And this right here is pretty densely wooded, close to our neighbors, the Donaldsons. Okay. This area here that looks like another large area is elevated. and wouldn't be appropriate, would put the structure very close to the road. This is the most set back from the road that we could put it on our property.
And I see you have a shed on the other side, it looks like, a smaller
Yeah,
one.
it's a really small one. It's about, I don't know, maybe 8 feet by 10 feet.
Okay.
Which all
Is
modest.
it, you've heard me ask this before, is it staked out yet, the general
Yes, it
area
is.
where this is going to be? Okay, good. Because what we do is we go out and we do a site inspection and just to, see the topography and see generally where this is going to be. So that's great.
And I believe that you also provided renderings. I'll put those.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is facing the road, right? So this side would be facing the road, and this side here would be facing our house.
Okay.
And it's,
Which one is which? The side on the left, would that be, as you're looking at it?
this is facing the house, and this is facing the road.
Oh, okay. I see the arrow. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
This is the back half.
Yeah, this is a complete metal kit building by this company, Allen's.
And what's the use? Why are you putting it up? Just storage of stuff, or?
It's mostly storage. Maybe we'll use it for crafts that are messy in the house.
Anybody else have any questions, concerns about the application?
Yeah, are you going to extend the driveway down to the shed, or does the driveway stay as is?
It's not a garage, we're thinking. So we're not going to extend it to start with. I mean, maybe down the line, but we had no plan to do that.
You going to have electricity in it?
Yeah, we're going to have lights inside.
I was gonna say. How about outside?
I think we'll put a light on the outside of the building. Yes.
Any bathroom or any of that kind of stuff in there, or is it just going to be?
No bathroom. We are hoping we can afford to put a sink in it.
Okay. With like a utility sink kind of thing?
Yeah, like a slop.
Okay.
sink.
Yeah.
Welcome, you've got mail.
Will it be heated?
Yeah, we're gonna put in the heat pump sort of those mini splits.
That would provide air conditioning and heat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna store, both myself and my wife are artists, and we're gonna store, we're hoping to put quite a number of paintings in there. And in some of the very hot and very cold weather, it should be a little bit climate neutral.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And is this image looking toward where the shed will go?
Yeah. Yeah, where it's staked out now.
Okay.
Would you consider adding another small window or two? Just for pure decorative purposes?
3 windows.
There's 3 windows already.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at the where it's
back,
one
maybe?
small window.
No, there's 3 windows.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're also hoping that, not right away, but down the line, to get this door made glass.
Oh, that'd be nice. Thanks.
We're gonna landscape around it too. We'll put some bushes up and.
Well, the only reason I bring it up is because it's so close to the road that if it was just a blank wall, which I misunderstood the drawing, if it was just a blank wall facing the street.
Yeah, this is the side facing the street, and it has these 2 windows here.
That's fine.
Okay.
All right, any other questions concerns? Anybody need any additional information in order for the application to be accepted and considered? Okay,
I have a question, sorry.
that's all right.
So if you're gonna try and have water there, will you also need some drainage from this? Will it feed back into your existing system, or how will you take care of any
Oh,
outflow?
we're gonna use our existing system.
So you
and-
just tie into that for both
Yeah.
water source and for draining the sink out?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
only gonna be the one sink.
Yeah, okay.
And we have had some tradespeople over to look at it, and they have, told us that it would work okay.
Okay.
Are there
Right, so
other,
again-
are there other approvals required for this? Do you have to get anything from the planning board?
We
A special-
do, yeah, we are on the planning board, or we hope to submit our application to the planning board the end of this week so that we can be on the November 16th.
Okay. Do you need a special use permit?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. All right, I just wanted the board members to know that if the
Mhm.
planning board will be looking at this, they'll be looking at a lot of those same things as well.
In terms of the site plan, did you point out where Kim, could you go back there, where your septic and well are?
Yes, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's actually on this survey Marie
Oh, is
did.
it on there? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, but it's right in front. Yeah, you see it right in the middle, pretty much.
So this is the well,
Oh, yeah,
and then our septic is back here.
okay. All right, thank you. It just wasn't big enough for me to read it before, thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. Questions, concerns, more information? Okay.
I'm sorry, one quick question. How far is the shaft dwelling to the south from the property line? I don't see the shaft dwelling, I see the shaft property.
On our paper survey, I think you can actually see it. We weren't able to make a digital file of the entire survey, but it shows where it is.
Okay.
Maybe also on the parcel, we had photos of the
Aerial photos?
aerial photos. I think you can see it better on that.
Okay, great. Just want to see how close it is to the, the shed on the property line.
We have also told them about it, and they've seen the stakes where it's going to be.
David, I'm looking at the parcel access aerial view.
Yeah, I'm just pulling that up
And-
now.
Okay, yeah, you'll see. Is the neighbor's house is to the opposite side.
Okay, great.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, I see, yeah. With quite a bit of tree cover.
Quite a bit of tree cover in between.
Yeah.
Got it.
I have a quick
Thanks.
question, and this is, I'm probably just misreading it, looking at the survey. If I'm looking at it correctly, and I probably am not, it appears that the closest point of the shed to the shaft property, it looks like it's 17.7 feet plus or minus. Is that accurate or inaccurate, or I'm probably reading it incorrectly? That's just a question I have. Because it requires 75 feet. The proposal is 35 feet, and for a variance of 40. So you see in the middle where it says 17.7, and it looks like
Yeah.
the closest point of the shed to what appears to be the property line. It appears it's 17.7 versus 35.
Right. I mean, that's why we're applying for the variance.
Right, but I guess the variance is going to be more because it's closer.
Oh,
The CEO determination letter had said 40 feet for the variance requested, and that was also on the application. but Hannah, can you tell us do you know the measurement? Is it 17.7 feet from the side yard?
Um,
That would seem about right, just
think
given
this is-
sort of where it's at.
well, the shed is actually 21 by 24 feet.
Wow.
And the surveying company,
Mine's nothing.
the dimensions, somehow they misunderstood and they made the dimensions 24 by 26.
It'll be 3 feet,
So it will be a little bit smaller than this.
so about 3 feet.
So we're talking about like maybe 20 feet then? 20-ish? I just want to make sure your variance is correct, you know, as far as the extent of it.
Right.
Because you may need more, is what I'm getting at. If
Just maybe-
75 is required and it's 20 feet, then you're going to need 55 versus the 40 request.
Okay.
So we're gonna need-
You know what I'm seeing what I'm getting at? These
Yes,
things happen.
I do.
Yeah,
So we want to make sure you're,
So
assuming
I should have asked for a larger variance.
Yeah, 55.
if this is accurate, or I know it's not accurate because the proposed shed is bigger than what you're going to have there. But even if we estimate, given the actual size of the shed, you're probably still looking at a distance from the side or the lot line of the shafts of about 20 feet. And if 75 is required, then you're going to need 55 versus the 40 that's requested. That's what
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I don't know why I made that mistake.
But maybe before the public hearing, you could just confirm what that shortest distance is.
right.
Okay.
It's not the end of the world. It's just I just want to make sure it's accurate. That's all.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it took us a very long time to get the surveyor out, and maybe some information was lost over that. We
Right, well,
also,
if you can just measure it, you know where you have it staked, so you can measure it. And I assume you know where the property line is?
Yeah,
We're
just
looking
measure.
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Catherine, you go.
If you could just measure the shortest distance from that corner where it's staked to the property line and. we
so
can-
this one here,
uh,
or this side.
It looks like it's going to be the corner.
Well, if it's in the right orientation, it'd be the southwest corner.
So it's this corner, it's relative to this side you're looking at. Okay.
The shaft side, yes.
You're muted.
Okay. But you can come out and see the stakes, right? Where we have it staked out?
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
So
But-
do I need to send a new letter to Michelle Turk?
I don't think so. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just, we just want to get, you can make an amendment to the application. I mean, we
Okay.
can talk about it at the public hearing. I
Okay,
just want to make sure we want to give you, if we want to give you what you need. And if you need 55 versus 40,
okay.
we need to know, so.
Right.
So I think what we're saying is you could make that measurement
Yeah.
and just amend the numbers before the
Okay.
public hearing so that when we're talking about it at the public hearing, we have the right numbers in front of us.
Okay.
And
I'll
so that the
do that.
notice for the public hearing is correct too.
Right.
Okay.
So maybe if you can do that within the next probably week or so or something like that, and
You
And
can
let
email it
Chris
to
know.
me. Yeah,
Okay, I'll email it to you.
perfect.
all right. At this point in time, I'd make a motion to accept the application subject to some slight revision on the variance requested and schedule the matter for a public hearing on November 18th. Do I have a second?
Second,
All right. Tim E.,
Yes.
Tim A.,
Yes.
Catherine,
yes.
David,
Yes.
and yes for myself. Okay, so we've accepted your application. Just get that measurement squared away. And can you make the 18th of November?
Yes, I can.
Okay. It'll be very similar to this. Your neighbors are going to be noticed as to what you want to do. They'll have the opportunity to ask you questions. and we may have some more questions and things like that. So, but it's very similar process where you just present the application, and if there are folks who want to have additional information, you provide it, and it's a pretty simple process, but basically what you did tonight.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the 18th.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. John, or Kim, I see that it says there's apparently there already is a simultaneous application with the planning board.
Well, according to Hannah, they are going to be before the planning
Okay.
board shortly, probably for the November meeting.
Okay.
But they will need a site plan and a special use permit. Our recommendation is that the planning board should take lead agency on this.
I have no quarrel with that. Do we have to make a motion to that effect, or just?
Yeah, you wouldn't
Okay.
mind.
All right. Based upon our recommendation of council, I would make a motion that we allow the planning board to be lead agency on the secret determination. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. And I'll start with Catherine. Catherine?
Yes.
Tim A?
Yes.
David?
Agreed.
Timmy?
Yes.
And me, yes. Okay, great.
Scott, just so that as you and the board knows, with the planning board, we can't take final action until their secret is done.
Yep.
So just keep that in mind. We can still move forward with the public hearing. We just can't make
Right.
a final determination.
Okay, and it looks like referrals, obviously, the town of Rhinebeck Planning Board and the WAC?
Yes.
Okay.
Should we make sure that Hannah's aware of that? Does that extend the timeline most likely?
If she can get on the November meeting, I don't think it should extend it, but we can always reach out to Gretchen and figure out what's going on, and then if it does, we can reach out to Hannah.
Yeah, on an application this simple, I don't think it's gonna be a problem.
Trigger anything? Okay.
Yeah, I know we've had other applications which were very complex and we've had to wait for them. But this one's pretty, at least on its face, looks pretty simple, so.
Yeah, the planning board's apt to take its action, make its determination of significance very early on, classification and determination of significance very early on.
Okay.
All right, so that does it for the new business. Next, we have the public hearings, and the first case that's on is the Mulligan matter, case number 1004. Is Mr. Mulligan is here.
I am. How are you?
Good. How are you? Is there
Good.
anybody else here for the Mulligan matter? Any neighbors? Anybody else? Okay.
Scott,
Mr. Mulligan,
there was a comment received this afternoon, which will be part of the record.
right. There are actually two comments from the same person, as I recollect. One comment from the initial comment was objecting, and then the second comment was saying they were okay with it.
Oh, okay. I didn't get the second one, but that's good.
Well, I'll ask Mr. Mulligan about it because apparently I just had, was curious about it. It was unusual. So anyway, Mr.
Okay.
We'll get to that, but just if you could just take us through again, we know what you want to do, but just kind of take us through it again, what you want to do.
So what we're looking to do at 402 Sapasco Center Street is construct a 6-foot fence from the side of our property along Beach Drive. Then take that fence to the back, towards the back of our property, not to the exact back. And basically we're fencing in a pretty good portion, but not all of our backyard.
Okay, and that's staked out. I know I kind of drove by and I saw the general area where it was. I had a question, and I'm trying to find the in all this paper. The Saltzmans, where are they in relationship to your property?
The who's?
The Saltzmans?
I'm not familiar with them.
Okay, we got a something in this afternoon from them. Leanne Saltzman
Oh, the hinges. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Salzman Hinges. That's her maiden name.
Oh, okay, all right.
They
So-
are at 411 Sapasco Center Street. So they're, as you come into Sapasco, they're further down towards the, I know you're familiar with it, towards the other
Yeah.
end.
We got initially, we had an email from them saying that they objected to the fence.
Mhm.
And then later, which is somewhat unusual, we got a follow-up email, and they withdrew their objection, and they indicated they had spoken to the owners, presumably you, about the situation. Could you just let us know what basically the sum and substance of the conversation was between the two of you?
Sure. So I reached out based upon the email that they sent because it dawned on me when they sent that email that I think they were misunderstanding what it was that we were looking to do. And what turned out, I was correct about that. They were under the impression that we were looking to put a fence on our property line across the entire front of our property on Sapasco Center Street. So if you read if you guys prepared the notice states variance number 1 is construction of a fence along Sapasco Center Street. So they actually thought that we were going to encapsulate the entirety of our property with this fence.
Okay.
So I called them and I asked them if am I understanding this correctly? And he said, yeah, that's exactly what we thought. And then we walked through it. I said, hey, this is exactly what we're doing. We're not putting a fence in front of the front of our house on Sapasco Center Street. We're doing exactly what the pictures you're showing right now we're doing. We're going to be coming out from the side of the house out to the line on Beach Street, and then we're going to be running it back towards the back of our property, which is going towards the lake.
Right.
Yeah, so that's essentially what happened. When I saw that email, I went and read the variance, and I said, I can see how someone perhaps might have misunderstood what we were looking to do.
Okay.
And it dawned on me actually because there's a number of other houses within Sapasco that have done essentially the same exact thing that we're looking to do. And when they said that there was no one else in the neighborhood doing this, that kind of jumped out at me like, something is not right here. And that's what it was. They were just misunderstanding the project.
Now that kind of segues into, I know you submitted a bunch of photographs of other fences in the Sapasco, area there.
Mhm.
I don't know if they're precedents or not in the sense that I have no idea what the height of these fences are and when they were put in and all that kind of stuff. But do you have any information, say, like if we went through, say, 308, do you know what the height of that is?
These are all 6 foot, the ones
Okay.
that we had sent to you.
Wow, 6 feet.
Right. Is that just by eyeballing it or
Yeah, standing next to it,
okay.
5'9". It's, they're clearly 6 foot fences.
No.
These are just a couple of them. There's a number of others that have exact same setups that we're looking to do, coming out from the side and then encapsulating the rear of their homes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And,
there's a couple more of them.
Yeah. And I had another question and it just popped out to me because I have a 5-foot fence that I recently put up. And I guess my question was, instead of going to the 6, why wouldn't a 5 suffice? Because what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to look at the least amount of variance that's required. And so I just asked you that question. Why would a 5 suffice versus a 6? And if not, why?
6 foot is it's a standard size fence. I'm not super familiar with fences, but it's usually standardized sizes, without having a special order. So it's a standard 6 foot fence. I know we're working through the process, and I think what we're trying to do is, for all the reasons we discussed before, putting it up for security and privacy. We are landscaping it. We're working through the process. We're putting up all sorts of bushes and trees and or ornamental grasses around it to break it up and make it look nice. But, so we're trying to appease the different needs of the neighborhood and the town.
That discussion's going on at the planning board level, I presume.
Correct.
Mhm.
Do you have any plans that you could share with the ZBA as to what plantings or landscapings you're proposing for the fence?
We're working on it with the planning board. We can share what we share with the planning board. They're simply asking for either a hand-drawn or a combination of some digital showing where we plan on doing plantings and the types of plantings. So we could, I have no problem sharing that with you guys.
Yeah, I
It's
think
just
the board would be appreciative to kind of be able to see what the final fence would look like. So thank you. That would be great.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
That helps us. It's part of our considerations. It's one of the factors, the effect on the neighborhood and all that.
Yeah, we're really trying to work together on this and come to some sort of agreement. And we agree. And just part of my discussion with the planning board is that, yes, we absolutely want to do all sorts of landscaping, but we have a lot of different other projects that we're doing at the house. And it's somewhat difficult to get locked into a time frame because other projects are going to stop us. We're not going to landscape until we're done. Obviously, we're ready for it. But we fully intend on doing it. And as long as they're okay with that, we have no problem laying out what we want to do and how we want to do it, and put that in a plan and have that submitted as part of the process.
Okay, and the public hearing in front of the planning board is on the 16th of November, if I'm reading it correctly?
I don't have it in front of me, but I think so. I think that sounds right.
Yeah. Well, we're meeting on the 18th. They usually meet on the Monday, so that's,
Okay,
I think that's right.
that makes sense then.
Anybody else from the board have any questions, concerns?
The other question that I had that I wouldn't mind having this piece of information is the distance between the part of the fence that's on Center Street, the one kind of facing the front of your house, the distance between the fence and the property line, and then the distance between the fence and the road.
So on Center Street?
Yeah, if
Okay.
you come from the fence to your property line going towards Center Street, and then also because there's quite a bit that I guess is not your property, but it looks like there's a pretty good space between your property line and the actual street.
Yeah. I don't have that figure on mine, but I can measure that out.
Okay, yeah, if you could send that to Chris, that would just be helpful.
Sure, not a problem.
I think that's the only other question I had, Scott.
Okay. Well, Catherine, I think you're the one writing this one up, correct?
I think I am.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, any questions, concerns? No? All right, and again, there's nobody from the public? Nobody showed up? Okay.
Mr. Mulligan, do you have a kind of timeline of when you were going to get the landscaping thoughts to the planning board? Will that be in a couple of weeks, do you think, or will it?
I was going to try to get it done this week to them. So, because we have,
Okay.
I had a good discussion with them this morning. We have a lot of good ideas about what sort of plantings we're going to do. So I was going to put something together this week. If not this week, then definitely next week and get that over to them.
Great. If you just send it to Chris at the same time, then she can forward it on to me.
Sure, absolutely.
And to the rest of the people on the board. Thanks.
Okay, yep.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, any other questions, concerns, more information? Okay, well, thank you for answering all the questions, Mr. Mulligan. At this point in time, I'd make a motion to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and go roll call again. Tim A?
Here, yes.
Tim E?
Yes.
David?
Yes, sir.
Catherine?
Yes.
And yes for me too. Okay, Mr. Mulligan, I've closed the public hearing, and as a result, we have 62 days to render a resolution on your application. Most likely, it'll be done at the next meeting. That's typically the way we operate, which will be November 18th. You do not have to be present, but you're more than welcome to attend if you like, to listen to the resolution be read on November 18th, assuming it's ready for that date, but it probably will be.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else?
I'm good.
Council? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mulligan.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, the next case that's on is
Oh,
the Welker matter.
Scott, it's not, the planning board did classify this as type 2 at the
Right.
October meeting. So, so we can move forward with the final decision and no further seeker is required. Sorry.
Right. Okay. All right. So the next matter on is the Welker matter. Is there somebody here for that case?
I am.
I thought so. Is there anybody here from the public? Any neighbors or anybody else who is interested in this application?
Hi, Matt Carlisle. I'm going to be contracting on the job.
Okay. And I think you jumped in the last time around, so feel free to do that. But I guess in the first instance, Ms. Welker, if you could just lead us through, again, what you want to do. And thank you for the renderings, by the way. I appreciate it. I know we requested them and you provided them. So.
Yes, I'd like to build a 12 by 16-foot shed for pool equipment, lounge chairs, umbrellas, floaties, things like that, at the end of the pool.
And then I think, Mrs. Walker, it also looks like it got a little bit bigger. It has another little jut out on the other side that's 6 by 7 feet.
Oh, you mean over those Belco doors? I believe
Yeah.
that was I think that was in the original drawing.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember that. It just gives it a little bit more square footage.
Oh, I don't know, but that's just over the Bilco doors. It's not any kind of space or anything other than that.
Yeah, it's basically to shelter the door so the weather doesn't get down into the lower level.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't remember that jut out from before, but we didn't have the same drawings either. So the drawings are very helpful.
Just looking at another vantage point, the pool is actually in place. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And I see there's actually kind of a perspective. It looks like looking out through the beginnings of the building, and it looks out onto the pool.
Oh, you mean the photograph that I see?
Yeah, the photograph. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry,
The photograph.
I'm trying to find that there.
There we go.
The wrong way.
Nope.
There we
Not
go.
that way.
Go back.
No.
Back. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. That you had asked me for one photograph from the shed out towards the pool, and the
Yeah.
other is out towards the road. So this is the one that's towards the pool, obviously. The other that's towards Lemon Lane.
And is that structure that's visible in the one just before that, Kim? Go back one. And what's the structure that we're seeing there in front of the pool?
That's the shed. That's what we're building. It was started and then we were stopped.
I see. Yeah, I remember.
So that's the view out towards the pool, obviously.
And then I think on the application, it also said this was going to be heated.
What was going to be heated?
Did it say the shed was going to be heated?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Carlisle, can you speak to that maybe?
It'll be insulated so that it can maintain heat. I don't know that we're actually going to put heat in it. The pool equipment stays hooked up all year round down below. So we just need to make sure none of that freezes. So we're going to kind of play that by ear. If we need to add something to keep it just above freezing, we may have to do that.
I think it was the reading.
But I
of-
think,
Yeah, it was the description of the insulation that led me down that path.
right, yeah, we wanted to try and keep it as moderate as possible inside.
Is there going to be any plumbing, bathroom, any of that kind of stuff?
No, but we do have electric down below for the equipment, so we're gonna bring electric up into it. And thinking of putting like a refrigerator to be able to hold drinks and stuff for the pool so that people don't have to go back and forth to the house.
And it mentioned in the, I think with the refrigerator, an ice maker, so you'll have
Yeah,
water.
one of those too, if I can afford one. Yes, I would.
But, so you'll bring water from down below up too?
Yeah, correct. There's already water down below that feeds the pool. So
Okay.
we would just bring a feed up for that.
All right, just for the record, we did get a response back from the planning board. Looks like October 19th.
Yes, they had no concerns.
Right.
And we also got one back from the WAC, similarly, no concerns, and they thought it was a good project.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the
that-
gentleman, the conservation people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that sent out? I have the planning board one, but I don't have the WAC one. I believe you, but I probably just missed it. That's all.
I can forward it, or Chris can
All right.
forward it. It came through today.
Can you forward it to me, because I'm going to be writing this one up. Looks
Sure.
like. So.
And-
All right.
and
Any other? Oh, I'm sorry,
did we have
Catherine.
anybody- we didn't have anybody here from the public who wanted to speak?
No, not. I'll ask again,
Oh,
but
oh, wait, I see a hand.
Oh. Who has the hand?
Chad?
Oh, Chad? Okay.
Yes, I'm the neighbor. Hello. Can
Hello,
you hear
how are
me?
you? Yeah.
Hi. Are you, you're at, can we see just an above view of where you're putting the building? I'm your neighbor at 74 Lemon Lane, and I just want to see the actual location.
This is kind of a little bit of on parcel access.
Okay, so- Right, where is the shed?
It's past the house. So if you're driving, you pass my driveway, there's a second driveway, it's up to second driveway.
Yeah. Okay, so you're gonna be on the northwest corner of the pool.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just wanted to see where you were building. Okay, thank you. That's it.
so you have no quarrel with the application?
No, I have none.
Okay. Any other members of the public or anyone else who wants to be heard about this application? Board members, any more questions, concerns, comments?
I'm fine.
Yeah, I am too. All right, then at this time, I'd make a motion that we close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. And I'll do the roll call. I'll start off with you, Tim. Tim A?
Yes.
Timmy?
Yes.
Yes for me. David?
Yes.
And Catherine?
Yes?
Okay, we've closed the public hearing and we have 62 days to render a resolution. It will be done at the next meeting because I'm doing it. And if I want to come out, which I will, to see the property, should I talk to you,
Yes.
Ms. Welker?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll give you a call. And there may be a couple of us coming out just to take a look around. We'll be able to see, obviously it's partially constructed, so we'll be able to see generally where it is, correct?
Yes. I'm not here all the time, so if you could call and give me a little.
Oh, no,
break.
absolutely. No, we'll call and make it at your convenience.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Chris and Kim, I already sent Scott the CAB report, okay?
Oh, thank you, John.
Thank you. So we've gotten all the referrals back. So again, I'll have a resolution ready at the next meeting, which is November 18th. You do not have to be present, but if you want to, if you're curious, you can attend and listen to the resolution being read.
It's the same format then, just like this.
Same format as this, only it's at the end of the meeting. So you have to wait around, or you can come in late.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the next matter on is Rhinebeck Villa, and I see Mr. Kemp in attendance.
Good evening.
Good evening. Want to take us, and let me ask, is there anyone from the public or any interested parties here on this application?
Yes,
Okay, who's that?
Nancy Shomo.
Okay. What will happen here is Mr. Kemp will describe what is being requested. And then once he is done doing that, if you have any questions or concerns, we'd ask that you identify yourself, where you reside, and ask away whatever questions you have, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
And Scott, it's Chris Capo. I'm a neighbor as well.
Okay. So Mr. Capo, the same thing. Once Mr. Kemp is done with his presentation to us, then feel free to ask whatever questions you have concerning the application.
Thank you.
And again, we'll ask you to state your name and your address. Mr. Kemp, why don't you describe what the application is about?
Sure. Once again, good evening. My name's Sean Kemp. I represent Rhinebeck Villas. They're the owner of property by Route 9G and Middle Road. And this is an appeal from the interpretation of the town code by Michelle Turk regarding the definition of a guest room. And one may wonder why the definition of the guest room is important. And here what we're dealing with is my client is trying to determine how they can go about using this property. And a special permitted use is related to the hospitality industry. And in order to determine how many guest rooms we can have, it's going to be dictated based on the lot area of the parcel. But in order to determine how much lot area we need to know the number of guest rooms. And to know the number of guest rooms, we need to know what a guest room is. Ms. Turk's definition or interpretation of the code was that a guest room should be synonymous with a bedroom. And it's our position that because the term guest room is being used in relation to the hospitality industry, that the using a definition such as one that's synonymous with a bedroom does not really adequately carry out the intent of the statute. And we feel that the statute is ambiguous. And I think that that's kind of the ambiguity of the statute or the ordinance has been proven by the fact that the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board in early September passed a resolution that was forwarded onto the town board, asking the town board to amend the code in order to include a express definition of the term guest room. That's fine and good, and that can take its own process, but I think that's proof of an ambiguity. And the law is well settled that if there's an ambiguity in the code, that it should be determined in favor of the applicant, which would be my client. And my client is requesting that the board, the ZBA, use its powers to amend or the interpretation of Ms. Turk so that it's more consistent with the hospitality use. In the hospitality industry, a guest room is usually associated with a key, meaning that you go and check in a hotel and you book a guest room, that guest room could have accommodations for one or two parties. It could have accommodations for 4 people. It could have 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms. It could have a pull-out, whatever it might have. If we were to take Ms. Turk's interpretation, then every portion of a room that had any type of sleeping accommodation would be another guest room, which doesn't really seem to make too much sense in this type of application. And when I say this type of application, I mean application in the hospitality industry. So, I've done some research. There's not so many, I couldn't find too many other municipalities in the state of New York that have come up with this issue. But I have found other states and other municipalities throughout the country that have gone and actually had a definition of a guest room that does not equate it with a bedroom or a bedroom in a single family home for that matter, which is kind of the direction that Mrs. Turk's interpretation would take us. And it just it doesn't make sense. At the end of the day, we need a definition if we're going to have an ordinance that's regulating a certain type of use, and here it's a hospitality use. That definition should be consistent with the use that's being regulated. So that's kind of the application in a nutshell. I can say that the city of New Orleans has a definition, and that definition excludes or makes special provisions for rooms that are not bedrooms that can be determined as guest rooms. Other ones say a guest room is a room for lodging in exchange for money, things of that nature, but none of them equate a guest room in a hotel, motel, boutique hotel setting, whatever it might be, with a single family bedroom.
If we upheld the CEO's interpretation, what would be the effect on the applicant's proposal?
Well,
I know you're looking at, I believe, it's about altogether 60 in the first phase and 48 in the second.
Well, so if we go with the CEO's interpretation, it's and you just referenced 60 what? Just 60 doors? Then those would be 60 guest rooms. But if under her interpretation, if there's 2 beds in there, then there's 2 guest rooms.
Right. And what I'm saying to you, what is the effect of her interpretation on the application that you have, or your proposal? I mean,
well, I don't think that the interpretation right now, we're kind of in a standstill because we can't even determine what we can put there. So if we were to carry out her interpretation, then we'd be left with we don't know what we'd be left with, because the interpretation doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to use a definition that's applied to residential dwellings, okay, to apartment, hospitality industry, whether it be a hotel or motel, okay? So we can't even really get to a point of putting forth any type of real plan. Although we've been working diligently and in good faith with the planning board, we're at a kind of a standstill to see what direction we can take this project in.
Okay, I was just, was curious as to, instead of, say 108 guest rooms, if the ZEO's interpretation was upheld, would that bring you down to 50 or 60, or you're just simply not in a position to be able to? I don't want you to guess, but if you have a reasonable estimation of the effect.
Yeah, and I appreciate the question. It would be pure speculation.
Okay.
We're even in the course of that question, you referenced guest room, but we don't really know what it is. If we have a queen size bed in a room, and then there's a sofa to the side that could possibly be pulled out, if they're going to say that that's now 2 guest rooms because it can have accommodations for more than 2 people, that's going to be a significant problem of how we design the rooms, what we can put in the rooms. And so it's very important that we have a definition that is consistent with the way the term is used in the industry.
But Sean, let me just ask, aren't the Rhinebeck zoning regulations about how capacity for in the hotel, in the hospitality section, isn't that related to basically how many people are going to be sleeping there potentially, or how many, whether it's bedrooms or guest rooms or whatever you call it? There's a formula there, isn't there?
The density is based on, is a combination of guest rooms and acreage, right? So we know we need a certain lot size per guest rooms, but we
Right.
don't know what a guest room is.
But all right.
So,
I mean, we can make our own extrapolation if you give us a better feel for what the impact would be.
I think that extrapolation would be speculative, because I think that this is such an important concept that we have.
I agree.
You're correct in the way that the code is laid out, that the density is reliant upon the guest room, and that's why this is so important. And it also begs the question as to why to have such an important term to be undefined in the code, and then to go one step further to have a term that's undefined in the code and have the ZEO ignore other usages of that term within the industry, okay, and even other usages outside this industry, and to just hang on to the idea of that it's synonymous to a bedroom in a residential setting. I think that that's very troublesome. So if we're going to have a code that's going to base density on what a guest room is, I think that raises the level of importance of the term to such a point that we need to have a clear and definition and understanding of what this term is. And like I said, I did some searching throughout the state of New York, but it wasn't necessarily the easiest thing to come across. Other communities, whether it be New Orleans, San Diego, Los Angeles, they've all kind of grappled with this. I think, and I can share these materials with the ZBA. I think that it might be useful to kind of frame the issue. But, certainly if we're going to make policy and have land use decisions being dictated by what the definition of a term is, I think that term and that definition rather should comport with the industry or the use that's being regulated.
Board members, any other questions of Mr. Kemp? Otherwise, I'll let the public ask some questions if they have any. Ms. Shomo, do you have any questions that you'd like to address to Mr. Kemp?
Well, I have a question for you. I live on Hook Road, which is behind the proposed development. I'm kind of new to this whole system. So I want to ask, has it been already approved for the environmental impact that this project would have on the area?
Can I answer?
I believe the answer is no.
Yeah, that's correct. It has not.
Okay.
Just to be clear, Ms. Shomo,
yes,
this project is, although there's been a lot of time put into it by both the planning board and my client in order to come up with some concepts, this is in the very early phases.
Okay.
Sean, has an application been made to the planning board yet, or have all the discussions been pre-application discussions?
I believe that they're pre-application.
Okay. Do you understand what that means?
Like
Miss-
workshops and things of that nature.
Yeah, Ms. Shomo, do you understand what that means?
Not really.
Okay, so what that means is that there's a process where applications to the planning board are not made until there are informal discussions between the applicant and the planning board, just so the planning board can start to get familiar with the project. And sometimes it benefits both parties to have a mutual understanding of both the project and the process before an application is actually made. So what's been happening is the activities and communications between the applicant and the planning board have all been pre-application communications up to this point. The applicant has not yet made its formal application to approval for approval to the planning board. So the formal approval process at the planning board has not even started yet.
Okay, I understand that. No, and the reason I'm asking is because many years ago, we contacted the Department of Health because, or the environmental department, because there's a lot of waste back in those areas from previous illegal hospital dumping. And so there's a lot of stuff there, and I'm just afraid that this project is gonna ruin all our wells, because disturbing that whole mess is gonna be awful. So I just wanted the board to know my concerns about that.
And you'll definitely have an opportunity, assuming there's an application filed with the planning board, to voice those concerns. That's, you know, there'll be a lot of discussion about the effect in the area that this application will have at the planning board level.
Okay, that's what I really wanted to know. I appreciate your patience with my not knowing how this system works.
No, this is what it's all about. We appreciate you coming out and asking questions. That's why we have the hearings, so that the public can get educated as to what the application is, what the issues are, and everything else. So I appreciate you actually taking the time.
Sure. And do we know when, like, is there an idea of timing as to when the actual planning requests would be made?
That's up to Sean. I don't know when they're planning on applying to the planning board.
Yeah, at this time, we're still in those preliminary phases, and the application that's currently before the ZBA is really limited to this narrow issue of how the term guest room should be defined.
Yep, I would agree with that. Ms. Shoma, what I would suggest is the planning board has a page on the town website. They do post their agendas. It would probably be a good idea for you to just, you know, it sounds like you're very interested in this, to just make it a practice of, you can find out on the calendar when the planning board meetings are, and, you know, checking the agenda a few days before the meeting, and you can see whether anything is on there. Gretchen Smith is the name of the secretary to the planning board. You can also contact her and find out information about the status of the application.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, I only knew about this one because I got a letter from the town of Rhinebeck. So I appreciate them sending that so that I knew enough to show up.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Mr. Capo, did you have some questions?
Yeah, I do. I have I have an observation and a question. The observation is that, you know, when I look at the language used by the zoning law, to me it seems pretty unambiguous. It says guest room, right? So guest room is singular, and a room, you know, should be equated with a guest room. So in these plans, if there is a room that can be used for somebody to, you know, sleep overnight, then to me, it seems like it should be determined to be a guest room. In the hospitality industry, there are two terms that are typically used. One is guest room. The other one is guest unit. And I believe the way the town zoning code was written was to use the term guest room instead of the term guest unit. I think words are pretty important, and I think that, you know, that word was probably chosen very carefully and purposefully. And I respectfully disagree with Mr. Kemp on the point that other municipalities have come to a conclusion that, you know, a single guest room could be defined as having multiple bedrooms. I think there are certainly cases of that. But I did a little research myself, and there are plenty of examples where, you know, in the state of Texas, for example, a guest room shall be defined as a room designed for overnight lodging. Okay. So that's the singular use of the word room, and it's equated with a space where somebody can stay overnight. So that's my observation. The question that I have regarding this whole decision that I guess needs to be made is that if for some reason the town decides to go against their zoning code as stated and rule in the favor that a single keyed room may host multiple separate bedrooms, do we then establish a precedent for future developers to cite and litigate potentially, where they would want to then extend that, you know, basis and say, for example, I'd want a guest room that has a single key that has 4 or 6 bedrooms in it. You know, I'm thinking of facilities that, you know, may cater to college students or things like that in the future. So again, you know, I think the definition of the town zoning code is very clear on this, that it's a guest room. They did not use the term guest unit. And if you guys decide to expand that definition or change it to support this argument that's being asserted by the developer, do you set yourselves up for a precedent that can be cited by future developers in the town?
You know, we do consider the effect of any interpretation. I mean, we want to get it right, but to answer your question, I presume that any interpretation we make can be used by whoever as setting some type of precedent. Whether it does or does not is another argument. But people can point to any interpretation or ruling and say that it supports their cause, whatever that cause may be. Mr. Capel, what's your address? Are you in the town of Rhinebeck?
I am. I'm 22 Kendon Lane, so I'm directly behind the project.
Okay.
Right.
I think that, and Mr. Capello, I appreciate your comments. And I think that what we have to keep in mind is that guest room is being used in connection with the specially permitted use in the hospitality industry. Your reference to, I think it was Texas, I'm not quite sure how that relates to their code. They could have that definition. I'm not sure how it relates to the code, but I know in our code, we have guest room and then we have bedroom. So if it was so clear, then we wouldn't need to use 2 words and 2 different words that supposedly have the same meaning. And I think that that's where the ambiguity comes from, is that, okay, if you really meant that a guest room was the equivalent of a bedroom, then why wouldn't you just use bedroom? And I think, again, I just want to impress upon the board is that if it was so clear and it was unambiguous, I don't think the town planning board would have unanimously passed a resolution that they went and, forwarded over to the town board in order to amend the ordinance in order so that it would include a specific definition of a guest room. And Mr. Capo, I know you don't have the benefit possibly of the resolution that I'm referencing, but not only does it have a specific definition of a guest room, a specific proposed definition of a lodging unit, specific definition of a suite, and a specific definition of a bedroom. So I maintain the position that there is ambiguity. I think it's proven by the planning board's own actions. And I think the law in the state of New York is well settled that in light of an ambiguity, it's supposed to be determined in favor of the applicant.
Does anybody else have any questions of Mr. Kemp or comments, observations?
Scott, actually, both Mr. Kemp and Mr. Capo had mentioned that they had done a little bit of research on this issue regarding other municipalities' definitions. It would probably be helpful for the board if they could pass those informations along.
Certainly.
And like I said, I know Mr. Capo also mentioned that he had done some research too. So anyway, that would just be my recommendation.
Yeah, and I was actually thinking about that myself because you have both referenced your research in your arguments, and anything we can utilize to help flesh this thing out is helpful. So Mr. Kemp and Mr. Capo, if you could forward it on to the ZBA clerk, and then she can disperse it on to the members and to council.
Certainly.
Very good, definitely.
I just have a comment, but I don't necessarily expect an answer. But looking at some of those units that you had illustrated up on the wall or video, many of those units look more like apartment units than they do hotel units. And I'm not sure if the intent of the zoning steers it one way or the other, but they're 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom and duplex units. They don't look like hotel rooms or guest suites even.
Yeah, I understand the issue that you're raising. I obviously I'm not a designer, and I also don't know if the renderings or drawings that are being put up, if they're the most recent drawings that were kind of passed around in the planning board workshops. But all that aside, I think the goal is for my clients to be able to comply with the zoning, but they want to be able to put their property to the highest and best use. And that's why it's so important that we're having this discussion tonight. And I think that, how rooms are oriented or however it might be, I kind of, based on my most recent discussions, I don't necessarily believe that these are the most recent drawings, but those configurations, things like that's all, something that can be discussed. But I think first, this is kind of like a prerequisite to my client being able to have a good understanding of what they can and can't do.
Mr. Kemp, if you wouldn't also mind, this is what we have. So yeah, if you have any more recent drawings that your client could provide, that would also be helpful. These were just the ones that we have in the file.
Sure.
But if there's been changes, I think that Tim's question is relevant in terms of the overall intent, and the design is not irrelevant, I don't think, to the consideration. So if they've been updated, please share that information with us.
Of course. I'll share all that information. That's not a problem. I just would want it to be noted that these are all in the conceptual phases. These are, no formal applications have been made. It's going back and forth with the planning board. So I just want to leave it at that.
These
No,
are,
I understand.
these are, just to clarify, these are the plans that were referenced in the ZA's letter, the June submission plans, just so you know. Just to,
Thank you, Chris. That's helpful.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions, concerns, or comments?
Yeah, hi, it's Nancy again. I have just one comment. When you're looking at comparisons as far as descriptions of rooms, etc., New York, LA, those places don't really apply. This is Rhinebeck. This is a very rural, small town. So my suggestion would be to reference other small towns that might have, you know, the same type of proposal or, you know, plans in their towns. I don't think New York and LA are going to do it for us.
Well, I think that the reference to those other municipalities is just the idea that this is an issue that's come up that they've confronted. Again, I don't have access to every single municipality's code. This is just from my brief research in preparation for this hearing. And I think that it is relevant because, again, regardless of where we are in the state or in the country, this becomes an issue of a definition of a term and how this term should be defined. And I understand that we can take other things into consideration, like where we are, but I think it's important that the term is consistent with the use that it's going to be regulating.
Yeah, I understand that. I just wanted to, you know, make the point that this is a very small town, so you can't use places like LA, what their rules are compared to us.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm trying to, I understand your point. And what I'm trying to say is that we're just dealing with a definition. I'm not trying to say that we need to adopt an urban code. I'm just suggesting that there are other resources out there that have dealt with this issue. And I think that it'll be useful when I supply it to the board so that they can kind of have, they can entertain my requests in a better context. That's all.
Okay, yeah, that's, I mean, you know, the more information, the better, obviously, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that we understand both sides of this issue. I will say that the intent, the location, Rhinebeck, since we're interpreting the town of Rhinebeck zoning law, the intent of the legislature, the Rhinebeck Town Board, will be something that the board will consider when they start looking at these definitions.
Very good.
One thing I would request from Mr. Capo and Mr. Kempen, if you could supply the information you referenced in your argument, say in the next week or so, I think that would be helpful. The sooner we can have it and consider it, the better.
Sure.
So.
Can I, excuse me, Mr. Bergen?
Yes, sir.
Can I just submit that through Ms. Hedges?
Yeah, no, everything, and Mr. Capo as well. Everything should be submitted to Chris, who's the clerk, and then she'll disseminate it to the board members and council.
Okay.
All right, any other questions, concerns, comments from either board members or the public? All right, I think we have a pretty good idea. By the way, thank you, everybody. Ms. Shomo, Mr. Capo, and Mr. Kemp for very good arguments, but also arguments that were made very civilly. We understand everybody has strong opinions on this issue, and it's personal since Mr. Capo and Ms. Shomo live nearby. And sometimes these things get out of hand, but you folks have been very professional and very calm, and we appreciate that. very civil, and
And
I know I appreciate that.
I appreciate that too. Thank you.
So with that, I'm at a point where I think we have enough information to begin considering the matter. And I would make an application that we close the public hearing.
Second.
I just didn't know if the board wanted to wait until they heard about the definitions, or both Mr. Capo and Mr. Kemp did explain kind of what the information would be. But anyway, just wanted to just double check with the board.
Yeah, I figured that we can probably read what we know what they said, and so we can read what they supply and consider it and give it whatever value we deem appropriate. So that's just my thought. But if you think that we should continue this, that's not a problem either. But I just think at this point, it's a fairly, we know what the issue is, and the arguments have been made. So
Mr. Bergen,
Yes,
Bergen,
sir.
I'm sorry. Yeah, just one follow-on question. Mr. Kemp referenced a resolution that I assume was recently made or asserted on this topic. Is that true? Is that a true statement? There was some recent resolution?
I think he was referring to the planning board's resolution.
There's a planning board resolution dated September 8th. And you can obtain a copy of that resolution from Chris Hedges.
Okay, Mr. Lyons, you read my mind. That's, I would like to read that. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
The only other thing I wanted to say about timing, Scott, is I don't do anything with numbers here. That's what Kim is completely in charge of those things. But I was thinking ahead to whether, I know that it's frequent when we anticipate, and while Mr. Kemp is still on the meeting, it's frequent that sometimes we need a day extension because of when our meeting falls on the second month. And I think that it might be possible in this case that we're going to want to do a little bit, I think you'll be asking for us to do a little bit of research about some of the legal issues that have been raised. So it may be that you're making your decision at the December meeting. And I just wanted to make sure that if we need an extension of a day or two beyond the 62 days, that maybe we can get that in order today.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I suspect, quite frankly, having done these things before, that we're going to need the 62 days, and we will not be ready for a resolution until the December meeting. And invariably, we need a day or two. So we appreciate your consenting to that.
Sure.
It'll make John and Kim's life easier too, as well as ours. All right. With that, any other questions, concerns, Kim, John, board members?
Oh.
Okay. Then I'd make a motion that we close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Tim E?
Yeah, yes.
Tim A?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
David?
Yes, sir.
And yes for me. So the public hearing has been closed, and we have 62 days to make a determination. I am confident it's going to not be at the next meeting in November. It'll be at the December meeting because it is a very important issue, and it's one that needs to be thoroughly researched, and we want to consider all the information we get from all the parties. So
we also, as the board knows, typically for interpretations, Grant and Lyons drafts up the decision and the resolution based on the board's deliberations. So Grant and Lyons will need the board's deliberations and directions as well. So it certainly won't be at the November meeting because we'll need direction from the board.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you, Ms. Shomo. Thank you, Mr. Capo. Thank you, Mr. Kemp.
Yep. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, now we go to old business. We have 3 resolutions, and we might as well tackle the most complex one first. And that is the Patel matter. Did everyone have an opportunity to review the proposed resolutions? There's two. Board members, did you get an opportunity? What I want to do now is just have a brief discussion. The two resolutions are identical and reflect our deliberations from the last time. And basically, the last time around, we were, I believe, all in agreement that based upon all the information we had, that a wetlands permit was required. And that is issue number one. And that is the same in both of the resolutions. The only difference between proposed resolution 1 and proposed resolution 2 is issue 4, which is whether a stormwater pollution prevention plan is required. And I know we discussed the issue, and I don't think there was really consensus. And so that's why it was written up with issue 4 either requiring or not requiring, depending on which resolution we looked at. And before I forget, I just want to say to Kim, what a great job you did distilling all that information. This was a very complex resolution with 8 distinct issues. Both sides, submitted quite a bit of information, and there was a lot of information to be distilled, and I think Kim did a great job boiling it down to the bare minimum, which still took 12 pages, but given how much stuff we had, I think you did a great job. So just ahead of time, kudos to you.
Thank you.
And if John had anything to do with it, which I doubt.
Oh, he did. Always equal, don't worry.
I have to get one dig in. So anyway, I think.
Scott, would
sorry.
you like me to put the
Yes, please put the two
issue
up.
4 up?
Yeah, I had asked Kim if she could put the 2 different issue 4s up, dealing with that stormwater pollution prevention plan.
Let me know if it comes across okay. I don't know if I need to unzoom it or anything.
Is there any way you can get it a little bit bigger, or is that kind of what we had?
It won't fit on the same screen, so we can look at alternate
Okay.
1 first if you'd like. Oops. I can zoom in on one or the other, whatever the board would like to do.
What would you guys like to do? I think maybe zooming in on one and then zooming on the 2 and then discussing the 2 together. That might be a good way of going.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Let me know how
Right.
that looks on your.
That looks fine.
Yeah, that looks great.
Great.
And really what it comes down to is, whether the work would materially affect the existing condition of the land, and whether the conduct of the underground, the installation of the underground pipes or rerouting the pipes and all that kind of stuff, is so substantial that this is required. And I think initially I was of the feeling that it probably would not be, but the more I thought about it and I thought about the extent of what is being done out there, I did feel that this would materially affect the condition of the property because there is so much piping going out onto the roadway. And so while I was probably initially probably a fan of alternate 1, I think I've come around to alternate 2, which says there is good segue. Basically, that the activity is so material that the plan is required.
Yeah, I totally agree, Scott. I think if we were to decline to consider this a significant issue, we would be setting a precedent that I don't think any of us would like in the long run.
How does the rest of the gang feel?
I agree. I think it was a substantial amount of work done, and given where and what it consisted of. I agree with you, both of you.
Yeah, I would agree with that also. I actually just became a SWIP certified inspector, and this would come under a SWIP inspection.
Yeah, and Tim, I think you in the first instance may have been the person who was, for finding this way, and I've come around to the same belief. So I guess that's based upon your experience. All right, Tim A, any comments, concerns, questions?
Just clarify for me the bottom line then.
The bottom line is that there's a requirement for a storm water pollution prevention plan because the activity of changing the piping and everything else is so material that there is a requirement for this.
Right. But then from there you cascade down to the original permit issue, right?
I'm not sure I'm following.
I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do any better than that. So I'll wait for it to crystallize in my head a little bit.
All right. Well, I think we have at least 4 who think that alternative number 2 is the way to go, and that is the alternative that requires that plan. So what I'll do, I think at this time, John and Kim, you can chime in, is maybe read the alternative number 2, which includes the requirement for that plan.
Sounds good.
Does it sound like a plan?
Yep.
All right.
Do you want, Scott, do you want to introduce that? Are you introducing a motion?
Well, I was going to read it and then
read it first,
and then have some last comments and then have the board polled.
Okay.
So get ready, gang. It's 12 pages. So try not to nod off. Okay. This is a proposed resolution of the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals in the matter of the appeal and application for interpretation of Mr. Patel from the determination of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning officer dated March 12, 2020, stating that Garden Homes did not require Town of Rhinebeck approvals or permits for rerouting pipes from existing stand filtration septic system. And this is case number 1000. The background, the applicants are Patel. The applicant is represented through this to this board by Mr. Paul Stone, Esquire of the law firm Law Offices of Paul Stone PC. The appeal involves property located at 6842 Route 9 in the Town of Rhinebeck, bearing 2 separate tax parcel numbers. The property is adjacent to the applicant's property and owned by Garden Homes Mobile Home Park Company Limited Partnership, hereinafter referred to as Garden Homes. Garden Homes property is approximately 3.53 acres in area and is located in the neighborhood residential NR zoning district. The appeal focuses on a sanitary sewage disposable system for Garden Homes and what permits, if any, are required from the Town of Rhinebeck for the relocation and redirection of the outflow pipes of that system, which have previously been releasing effluent onto the applicant's property. The current sanitary sewage disposal system used by Garden Homes is a sand filtration system, hereinafter referred to as sand filtration system, and has been used by Garden Homes and its predecessors since the 1970s. Although much of the background has been provided by both sides, as to the length and intensity of the issue, most of these issues have been resolved by a court decision, which directed Garden Homes to remove certain encroachments from the applicant's property, i.e. the chloration shed and pipes, and reroute the pipes so that the effluent is not released on the applicant's property, but rather rerouted across Garden Homes property and up along Route 9 to a new discharge location. In or about 2019, Garden Homes began to prepare plans to begin this work in or about 2019 and began to undertake the work in February of 2020. According to the written materials received from both the applicant and Garden Homes, the work required one, removing part of the existing sand filter system's clay support berm and chlorination shed on the applicant's property. Two, installing a new retaining wall to support the sand filter system and a new 1,000 gallon chlorine contact tank, a new pump chamber, new chlorine contact shed, and related infrastructure, including 5 manholes, pumps, and electrical controls. And 3, installing piping under Route 9 and along Route 9 right-of-way to discharge into a new location. The applicants have raised the issue as to whether local permits from the town of Rhinebeck, including but not limited to wetlands permits, special use permits, and site plan approval are required for this work being conducted by Garden Homes. And this is the ZBA review in paragraph 9. The applicants initially raised their issue to the town zoning enforcement officer through a complaint alleging potential violations for the work conducted by Garden Homes. The alleged violations consisted of the following: construction within wetlands buffer without obtaining a wetlands permit pursuant to section 120-6 of the town code. Special use permit and site plan approvals needed pursuant to section 125-54C of the town code. Site plan approval necessary for the installation of new septic disposal system pursuant to the town of Rhinebeck district schedule of use regulations. Preparation and approval of a storm water pollution prevention plan in accordance with section 125-60 of the town code. Special use permit and site plan approval for excavation pursuant to section 125-39A of the town code. Possible variances were necessary for setbacks and lot coverage for proposed new structures and improper storage of propane tanks. Paragraph 10. The ZEO conducted a preliminary investigation. On February 25th, 2020, the ZEO issued a stop work order for the construction of a wall with a fence permit and without a wetlands permit. On March 4th, 2020, the ZEO determined that the wall was part of an update to an existing sanitary sewage system and that no building permits and no wetlands permits were required. The stop work order was lifted on March 4th, 2020. Paragraph 11. On March 12th, 2020, the ZEO issued a determination letter to the applicant. The applicant filed an appeal with the board on April 24th, 2020. The appeal was filed within 60 days of the date of the ZEO's determination, and thus the application is timely as required by 125-125B of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law. Paragraph 12. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the New York State Governor's executive orders, the Town of Rhinebeck had suspended planning board and ZBA meetings until June 1, 2020. As gatherings have been prohibited by the state during this time, neither boards were unable to meet, or were able. Neither boards were able, I think is what we want to say, to meet at the town hall since March. Paragraph 13, the ZBA transitioned to virtual meetings beginning on June 17, 2020 in compliance with the governor's executive order 202.1, which suspended certain provisions of the open meetings law to allow a municipal board to convene a meeting via video conferencing and or telephone conferencing. This appeal was deemed complete and accepted by the board at its first public meeting held after the town opened up virtually on June 17, 2020. Paragraph 14. On June 17, 2020, this appeal was classified as a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR, because it is an application for an interpretation of an appeal from an administrative decision from the town CEO. And that's under 617.5C37. No further review is required pursuant to SEQR. Paragraph 15, a public hearing on this appeal was duly advertised and because of the COVID-19 pandemic was held virtually pursuant to New York State Executive Order 202.1. The public was afforded the opportunity to view and participate during the public hearing. The public hearing was opened on July 15th, 2020. During the course of the public hearing, we received written and oral comments from Mr. Stone on behalf of the applicants and Joseph Castiglione, Esquire of Young Summer, LLC, representing Garden Homes. Paragraph 16. The public hearing was continued on August 19th, 2020 meeting. the applicant and Garden Homes agreed to a submission schedule by which to provide written comments prior to the August 19th meeting, which afforded an opportunity for Garden Homes to review the application in full and provide comments, afforded the applicant the opportunity to respond to any and all public comments, and afforded the ZBA adequate time to review any written comments received by both parties. Paragraph 17. During the August 19th, 2020 public hearing, the ZBA heard additional testimony and comments from the applicants and Mr. Castiglione on behalf of Garden Homes. The public hearing was closed on August 19th, 2020. Pursuant to zoning law section 125-125F1, we must issue our decision in cases within 62 days from the close of the public hearing. Zoning law section 125-125F2 allows us to issue a decision beyond the 62-day period if we have consent of the applicant to do so. In this case, the 62-day period expired on October 20th. However, in this case, we have requested and received from the applicant consent to extend by 1 day, October 21st, 2020, so we can issue our decision at our regularly scheduled ZBA meeting. All right, findings of fact and conclusions of law. Our appellate jurisdiction to review interpretations or decisions from this administrative official, such as the town CEO, is set forth in ZBA law, Article 11, Section 125-124A, which states, orders, requirements, decisions, interpretations, and determinations. The Zoning Board of Appeals may reserve or affirm wholly impartially, or may modify the order, requirement, decision, interpretation, or decision appealed from, and shall make such order, requirement, decision, interpretation, or determination as in its opinion ought to have been made by the administrative official, i.e. the zoning enforcement officer or code enforcement officer charged with the administration and enforcement of this zoning chapter. And to that end shall have all the power of the administrative official from whose order, requirement, or decision the appeal is taken. Paragraph 20, in doing so, the ZBA takes a de novo review of the ZEO determination, which means that the ZBA is not bound by the ZEO determination and does not have to afford any deference to it. Paragraph 21. There have been 8 issues raised by the applicants in this appeal. We will go through each issue raised by this appeal and issue our decision. Issue 1. Is a wetlands permit required under Town of Rhinebeck Town Code Section 120-6 Wetlands Law in this case? The Town of Rhinebeck has a wetlands law under its code, Chapter 120. Under that chapter, pursuant to Section 120-4, the Planning Board has the authority to issue wetlands permit when certain activities take place within regulated, protected areas, which is defined as freshwater wetlands and associated buffers. Paragraph 23. According to the Town of Rhinebeck Town Code Section 120-15, the associated buffer areas extend out at least 100 feet from the wetlands boundaries or 100 feet on both sides of a stream. In this case, the sand filtration system is located within the associated buffer of a wetland. Paragraph 25, under the town's wetlands law, certain activities within the wetlands or associated buffer known as regulated acts require a wetlands permit from the Planning Board. Pursuant to Town of Rhinebeck Code Section 120-6B, regulated acts include 120-6B2, filling, placement of fill materials of any type, including but not limited to soil, gravel, sand, wood chips, stones, and solid waste, except for agricultural activities, and subsection B, sanitary sewage disposal systems, replacement of existing sanitary sewage disposal systems on previously approved lots, or installation of a new system for a previously approved lot where no alternative location is available. Also under Section 120-6B3, construction, all construction activities within the associated buffer areas included but not limited to A, placement of any impervious surface or new structure or facility included but not limited to gazebos, sheds, garages, swimming pools, and additions to existing structure that enlarge the structure's footprint. And D, installation of pipes, wells, service lines, conduits, or cable. Under the town's wetlands law, certain activities within the wetlands or associated buffer known as non-regulated acts do not require a wetlands permit from the Planning Board. Pursuant to the Town of Rhinebeck Code, Section 120-6C, non-regulated acts include under 120-6 C2, ordinary maintenance and repair of existing structures, including but not limited to sanitary sewage disposal systems, wells, bridges, highways, streets, driveways, walkways, walls, docks, and fences, which do not involve expansion, restoration, or modification. 120-6C3, maintenance of existing drainage channels where impedance of flow may cause flooding or threaten public safety on highways or in dwellings or other structures. And also 120-6C12, any activity subject to the jurisdiction of the DEC pursuant to Article 24 of the New York State Environmental Conservation Law, for which a freshwater wetlands permit or other approval has been granted by DEC and which is in compliance therewith. The work conducted by a garden home falls under a regulated act. The sand filtration system is not a new installation because the sand filtration system is not changing, but rather the pipes are being rerouted. However, rerouting of these pipes does not constitute an ordinary maintenance and repair to constitute a non-regulated act. This is not a repair because the sand filtration system is not damaged. Moreover, the work is not maintenance because it is not done to prevent damage or keep the system operating. Rather, the work is a modification to remove the encroachment and trespass of the pipes and effluent on the neighboring property. Modifications are specifically excluded from non-regulated acts pursuant to Town Code 120-6C2. The work to remove the encroachments and reroute the pipes to another location off the applicant's property will require construction activities within associated buffer areas, including the installation of pipes. We find the work is classified as a regulated act and requires a wetland permit from the planning board to continue. Issue 2. Is a special use permit and site plan approval required under Town of Rhinebeck zoning law, section 125-54C, development within water resource protection overlay WR-0 district in this case. Paragraph 34, the Town of Rhinebeck includes a water resource protection overlay district according to Town of Rhinebeck zoning law, section 125-54B1. The WRO is shown on the Town of Rhinebeck Water Resource Protection Overlay Map and consists of floodplains, stream corridors, lakes, and ponds, freshwater wetlands and aquifer recharge areas. Pursuant to the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law, section 125-54A, development within the WR-0 district requires a special use permit and site plan approval unless otherwise. In reviewing the WR-0-O zoning district map, we find that the map establishes that the Garden Homes property and the area of the sand filtration system is not located within the WR-O district. Therefore, the regulations and approvals pertaining to the WR-O district do not apply in this case. Issue 3, is site plan required for an accessory use in this case? Paragraph 38, the applicants assert that site plan approval is required under the zoning law for accessory uses in the neighborhood residential NR zoning district for installation of a new septic system. In reviewing the zoning law tables of uses, sanitary disposal systems are not listed as a distinct primary land use of any district. A sanitary sewer disposal system should not be considered accessory to a structure, and it is a critical and necessary component to any principal structure. Such components do not comport to the definition of accessory, which is defined as customarily secondary and incidental. Accessory structures are structures and uses that are secondary to a principal structure or additional. Things such as garages, swimming pools, things that are additional but necessary. This would not include sanitary disposal systems. Okay, do we want to say things that are additional but not necessary?
I think,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Catch me, I'm starting to get punchy here. And we're on page 6, so we're halfway through. A septic system is not a distinct primary land use in the zoning law use table that requires additional site plan approval for that use alone. Therefore, no site plan approval would be required under that section of the Rhinebeck zoning law. Issue 4 is a stormwater pollution prevention plan, SWPPP, required under Town of Rhinebeck zoning law, section 125-60, stormwater management in this case. Paragraph 42, a stormwater pollution prevention plan is required under Rhinebeck zoning law, section 125-60, for all land development activities as defined in the zoning law and all land development activities that are subject to planning board review and approvals for site plan and special use permits. In our review and decision, while we do not find that the changes to the Garden Homes sand filtration facility required either a site plan or a special use permit, we do determine that the changes do constitute quote unquote land development activities as defined in the zoning law, and hence a stormwater pollution prevention plan is required pursuant to zoning law section 125-60. Paragraph 44. What constitutes land development activities can be determined by an examination of the term development as it is defined in zoning law section 125-135. In that section, development activity is defined as follows. Any activity which materially affects the existing condition of land or improvements, including but not limited to, C, alteration of any structure or improvement. The application of the foregoing definition of development is aided by the zoning law definition of alteration in section 125-135, which says that as applied to a structure, any change to a structure other than repairs, any modification in construction. And the application of the foregoing definition of alteration is aided by the definition of structure in zoning law section 125-135, which says the static construction or assembly or materials, the use or occupancy of which requires a fixed location on the ground or attachment to an object having such a fixed location. Structure shall include amongst other things, platforms, walls. Based upon the foregoing definitions in the zoning law, development is an activity which materially affects the existing condition of land or improvements, including the alteration of any structure or improvement. And alteration is any change to a structure other than repairs, and specifically includes modification in construction. And the zoning law defines a structure as any static construction or assembly of materials. 46, that's paragraph 46. In this case, the changes to the Garden Homes, to the sand filtration facility on the Garden Homes property are described in detail in paragraph 7 of this resolution as follows. Removing part of the existing sand filtration system, clay support berm, and chlorination shed on the applicant's property. 2, installation of a new retaining wall to support the sand filter system and a new 1,000-gallon chlorine contact tank, a new pump chamber, new chlorine contact shed, and related infrastructure, including 5 manholes, pumps, and electrical controls, and 3, installing piping under Route 9 and along Route 9 right-of-way to discharge into a new location. We find that together, this work constitutes an activity which materially affects the existing condition of an improvement, specifically the sand filtration facility, because it constitutes an alteration of the facility, which constitutes a structure as a static construction or assembly, which requires a fixed location on the ground. The activity is an alteration because together the changes to the facility detailed in paragraph 7 of the resolution are changes to the structure in the form of a modification in the construction. Based upon this reasoning, we determined that pursuant to zoning law section 125-60, a stormwater pollution prevention plan is required pursuant to zoning law section 125-60. Issue 5 is a special use permit and site plan approval required for excavation under the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law section 125-39. Excavation is part of the site preparation in this case. According to the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law 125-39A, excavation is any act by which sand, gravel, shale, topsoil, or any other similar earth materials are mechanically cut into, dug, quarried, uncovered, removed, displaced, or spread. Under the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law, the use table, major excavation is a land use that requires a special use permit and site plan approval. Major excavation is defined as the removal, replacement, or recontouring of earth materials meeting one or more of the following criteria. One, involving more than 200 cubic yards of material, or affecting more than 10,000 square feet of land area, or the changing of existing drainage patterns affecting the neighboring properties. Paragraph 52, the applicants provided a portion of an affidavit from Richard Friedman, president of Garden Homes Management Corporation, from its litigation with Garden Homes in its August 3rd, 2020 submission. According to the affidavit, Garden Homes had completely excavated and removed portions of the clay berm that encroached on the applicant's property. As stated in the affidavit, approximately 20 dump trucks loads of materials was excavated from the park as part of the work in removing the clay berm and installing other infrastructure. The affidavit noted that there is about 10 cubic, that should be yards instead of years, of space for material in each truck. This information was neither refuted nor confirmed by Garden Homes. According to the Rhinebeck zoning law, major excavation triggering the need for a special use permit requires removal of more than 200 cubic yards. At most, assuming that the truckloads were filled to the brim for every load, this would amount to 200 cubic yards, but not more than 200 cubic yards. Again, it is also assumed that every truckload was filled to the brim to meet the 200 cubic yards. The applicant also asserted that Garden Homes dug and removed a berm up to 160 feet long and up to 17 feet wide. This information was neither refuted nor confirmed by Garden Homes. If true, this would amount to 2,720 square feet of land area, which falls short of 10,000 square feet of land area requiring a special use permit or major excavation. Based on the foregoing, we find that the evidence in the record does not support the applicant's claim that major excavation was conducted on the property. Moreover, even if major excavation was conducted on the property, according to the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law, section 125-39B4, a special use permit shall not be required for work governed by wetlands permit and approval. As we find a wetlands permit is required, even if a major excavation was conducted on the property, a separate special use permit would not be required in this case. Issue 6, are variances required for setbacks and lot coverages in this case? Without paragraph 58, without asserting specific setback violations, the applicants asserted that variances may be required due to the size and location of the proposed new structures. The applicants assert that the setbacks for the retaining walls have not been met. Zoning law section 125-38 is entitled Fences, Gates, Walls, and Berms. A fence is defined in the zoning law as having the purpose for decorative purpose or for the purpose of preventing passage or view. In their July 15th submission, Garden Homes provided photos of the retaining wall. The photos of the retaining wall provided by Garden Homes do not show a fence or wall erected for decorative purposes or for keeping anyone out of the area. Generally, a retaining wall is designed to hold back soils, which is what this wall appears to do. Regardless, even if it were meant to block passage, Town of Rhinebeck zoning law section 125-38 does not require specific setback distances. Rather, Town of Rhinebeck zoning law section 125-38D states that all fences, gates, and walls shall be set back at a suitable distance from the edge of a pavement to allow sufficient room for wintertime snow removal. The retaining wall shown in the photos does not infringe on any pavement on the applicant's property as to prevent snow removal. We find that the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law section 125-38 is inapplicable because the wall is a retaining wall meant to hold back soils, not prevent passage of view or for decorative purposes. However, even if it were for decorative purposes or to prevent passage of view. The setbacks do not prevent snow removal and therefore would not be violated. Okay, should that be passage or view? Or is that, am I reading that right? It seems awkward.
Yeah, or view.
Or view. Okay, so we have there's a couple of those in there. Anyway, issue 7, allegation that homes have been built without proper permits. This starts on paragraph 64, and we're on page 9, so we're getting there. The applicants assert that multiple homes have been erected without building permits. No specific structure is cited, and no specific facts are provided in the appeal, except to state that the density requirements for the NR zoning district, 1 home per 6,000 square feet, do not match the ratio of lot size to the current homes on the site. Without providing specific details or violations, it is difficult to acknowledge or affirm any of the claimed violations. As addressed in the ZEO's determination letter, when older manufactured homes are replaced with new replacements, building permits are filed. If there is no increase to nonconformity, no variances are required. The Town of Rhinebeck zoning law, section 125-94, states that any lawful non-conforming building or uses that may become non-conforming by reasons of subsequent chapters may continue indefinitely if certain criteria are met. Specifically, manufactured homes are addressed in the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law, section 125-94B, stating nothing contained herein shall prohibit the replacement of any mobile home or manufactured home legally existing in the Town of Rhinebeck at the time of the adoption of this chapter, provided that the replacement structure is a manufactured home and is in full compliance with the requirements of New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code, and no existing nonconformities or noncompliances are increased. Garden Homes acquired the property in 1984. No specific violation has been cited by the applicants as to any new manufactured homes being replaced after 2009 that increased the nonconformities or noncompliances. Without any further proof as to any particular violation, the ZBA finds no evidence in the record to establish violations as to manufactured homes cited in Garden Homes. Issue 8, allegation that storage tanks are in violation of fire codes. The applicants also allege the improper storage of propane tanks. The applicants have not provided any supporting information or any photographic evidence to support this allegation. Instead, the applicants note in their submission to the ZBA that it is impossible for the Patels to identify the laws to be complied with and to inspect the conditions on the neighboring properties. Despite this, it appears that multiple tanks up to 125 gallons each are stored alongside many homes. The ZEO stated in her determination letter that a site visit and inspection was conducted by the building inspector on March 11th, 2020 in response to the applicant's complaint, and it was found that the tanks were under 125 gallons and properly located away from any windows or air conditioning units. Without further proof or evidence, the ZBA defers to the building inspector's site visit and inspection as it relates to the New York State building and fire codes. No contrary proof or evidence has been provided by either side. We find that the evidence in the record supports a finding of no violation. Now, therefore, be it resolved, based upon all of the findings of fact and conclusions of law described above and upon the reasoning described above, as follows. Section 1, Garden Homes requires a wetlands permit from the planning board pursuant to Town of Rhinebeck Town Code 120-6B. The work to remove the encroachments and reroute the pipes to another location off the applicant's property will require construction activities within the associated buffer areas, including the installation of pipes. The work is classified as a regulated act and requires a wetlands permit from the planning board to continue. Section 2, the sand filtration system on Garden Homes property is located outside the WR-O zoning district. No approvals for development within the WR-O zoning district is required. Section 3, Garden Homes does not require this site plan approval for an accessory use in the NR zoning district. A septic system is not a distinct primary land use within the town of Rhinebeck use tables and does not require any additional approvals as district primary land use. Section 4, the work performed, the work 2B, I think we have to add a B. The work to be performed by Garden Homes constitutes an activity which materially affects the existing condition of an improvement, specifically the sand filtration facility, because it constitutes the alteration of the facility, which constitutes a structure. Therefore, we determine that pursuant to zoning law section 125-60, a stormwater pollution prevention plan is required pursuant to zoning law section 125-60. Section 5, Garden Homes does not require a special use permit or site plan approval for excavation conducted on its property. We find that the evidence in the record does not support the applicant's claim that major excavation was conducted on the property. Therefore, a special use permit is not required for the excavation. Section 6, no variances are required for the retaining wall. The retaining wall is not a fence, wall, or berm as defined in the town of Rhinebeck zoning law section 125-38 and does not violate any setbacks. Section 7, the ZBA finds no violations of the manufactured homes cited on the Garden Homes property. The town of Rhinebeck zoning law does not prohibit the replacement of any mobile home or manufactured home legally existing in the town of Rhinebeck, provided that the replacement structure is a manufactured home and is in full compliance with the requirements of the New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code, and no existing nonconformities or noncompliances are increased. Without any further proof as to the particular violation, the ZBA finds no evidence in the record to establish violations as to manufactured homes cited in Garden Homes. Section 8, the ZBA finds no violations of improper storage of propane tanks on the Garden Homes property. The town building inspector conducted a site visit on March 11, 2020, and found that all tanks were under 125 gallons and properly located away from any windows or air conditioning units. Without further proof or evidence, the ZBA defers to the building inspector's site visit and inspection as it relates to the New York State building and fire codes, and finds that the evidence in the record supports the finding of no violation. Done.
Good job.
I should have brought another thing of water, but anyway. Questions, concerns, comments before I ask Chris to, before I make a motion and before we do a roll call?
Scott, I'm sorry. Can you just read it once more?
Absolutely. You know what? There's always one. There's always one. Anyway, and I figured it would be you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyway, again, Kim, I think you did a fantastic job with really distilling a tremendous amount of information from both sides. And I feel very comfortable with the findings as set forth in this alternative number 2. Any comments, questions, concerns before I make a motion? Okay. I move that we approve the resolution as read with some minor changes along the way. Chris, at this point in time, could you do a roll call?
Second.
Oh, I need a second. Sorry. Catherine, second.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kim. I'm getting delirious. Okay, roll call.
Tim Allenbrook,
Yes.
Tim Econopoli,
Yes.
Catherine Clark,
Yes.
Scott Bergen,
Yes.
and Dave Tobias.
Yes.
All right. Again, great job, Kim and John.
Yep.
All right. Tim, take it away.
All right. Do you mind if I go use the restrooms first?
No, I think we can take a quick break.
A couple minutes.
Couple minutes. John, I think there's got to be provision for that. All right. So we'll meet back here in 5 minutes.
Great.
I'll get some more water.
Yep.
All right.
Me too.
All right. So I guess we're adjourned for 5 minutes. So Tim, I think looks like Baptist Home is first, and then 12468 Corporation.
We wait for Catherine.
Oh yeah, yep. I just wanted to give you a heads up on
Thank you.
at least the order of the.
I'm sorry, I'm back.
Okay. Ready to go?
I think so. We have John, Kim. I think we're ready to go. All right, take it away.
All righty. The resolution of the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals in the matter of area variance application of community at Brookmead ZBA case number 998. Whereas, background, the applicant is community at Brookmead. The applicant is represented before this board by Patrick T. Roberts of the firm Optimus Architecture. Property involved. This appeal involves property located at 46 Brookmead Drive in the town of Rhinebeck, and which bears the tax parcel number 135-089-6170-00996215 0000. The applicant's property is 25 acres in area and is located in RC5 zoning district. Description of proposed project. The applicant proposes to replace the existing monument sign 23.84 square feet with a larger one. The existing mounting structure and lighting will remain. According to chapter section 125-37J4 of the Rhinebeck zoning law, permanent signs in residential districts are limited to a total of 8 square feet of sign area. The applicant initially proposed a sign area of 28.16 square feet, which would require an area variance of 20.16 square feet. However, after discussions with the ZBA members and upon a revision submitted on September 2nd, 2020, the proposed sign area would be 24.96 square feet, requiring an area variance of 16.96 square feet. In addition, lettering of the freestanding signs may, the lettering of the freestanding signs may not exceed 60% of the sign area zoning law, section 125-37M3B. The applicant's initial proposed sign would have had a 61% lettering coverage. The applicant required an additional area variance of 1% for the lettering coverage. The revised design presented on September 16, 2020 with the larger sign area would have a 61% lettering coverage. Section 2, number 2, ZBA review. Timeless of appeal. The ZEO issued the determination letter on February 7th, 2020, which addressed the variance required for the sign area pursuant zoning law, section 125-37J4. The ZEO noted that an additional variance may be required. The applicant filed an appeal with this board on April 29th, 2020, requesting the 2 area variance and has paid the requested fee. The ZEO supplemented her determination on June 2nd, 2020, confirming the requirement of the second variance pursuant to the zoning law, section 125-37M3B. The appeal was filed within 60 days of the date of the ZEO's determination appealed from, and thus the application is timely as required by section 125-125B of the town Rhinebeck zoning law. This application was deemed complete and accepted by the board on June 17th, 2020. SECRA, after accepting this appeal, we determined this matter should be classified as a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act because of the project monument replacement action involves the installation of traffic control devices, sign or existing street, road, or highway 6 NYCRR section 617.5 C22. No further review is required pursuant to SECRA. Referrals and responses. The application was referred to the Dutchess County Planning Board pursuant to the General Municipal Law, section 239-M on June 18th, 2020, and to the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board on June 18th, 2020. The Dutchess Planning Department responded on June 24th, 2020, that is a matter of local concern with no additional comments. The Rhinebeck Planning Board responded on July 23rd, 2020, stating that the requested variance raised planning concerns. The Planning Board recommended that the Zoning Board take into account zoning code section 127 127-37A, 125-37B, 125-37P1, and 125-36J. Public hearing. A public hearing on this appeal was duly advertised and held on July 15, 2020. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the public hearing was held virtually pursuant to New York State Executive Order 2002.1, which suspended certain provisions of open meetings law to allow municipal board to convene meetings during the current pandemic via video conferencing and/or telephone conferencing. The public was afforded the opportunity to view the participate during this public hearing. The ZBA received emails, comments from Kristen Green on June 26, 2020, which requested pictures of the proposed sign, and Joanne Clark on July 9th, 2020, which raised concern over the larger sign design in the resident area during the course of the public hearing. No additional public comments were received. The ZBA expressed concern and issue with the initial sign design, including rounding the edges of the sign to resemble the current sign and a less commercial feel to the sign, legibility of the sign, and the extent of increasing existing nonconformity of the sign. Through discussions between the applicant and the ZBA members during the public hearing, the ZBA requested that the applicant consider a design similar to the existing sign and focus on improving legibility while also decreasing the variance requested. The ZBA continued the public hearing to consider the revised design from the applicant. The applicant provided revised designs for the sign on August 3rd, 2020, and again on September 2nd, 2020, to accommodate the ZBA's comments and concerns. On September 16th, 2020, the ZBA closed the public hearing. Site visit. On August 14th, 2020, ZB member Timothy Econopoli visited the applicant's property and the surrounding neighborhood to observe firsthand the site conditions, property characteristics, setting, surrounding environment, and the character of the surrounding neighborhood. The surrounding area is open fields with small businesses and residential houses on 308. No business or deliberations were conducted during the site visit. Findings of fact and conclusion of law. Balancing test. In our review, the variances sought, we have considered the benefit of the applicant if the area variances were granted, as weighted against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. We determined that the variances requested should be approved because the benefit to the applicant with the revised sign design dated September 2nd, 2020 outweighs the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood. Number 10, consideration of 5-factor in balancing tests. In our determination, we've considered 5 factors required by section 125-124C1 of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law as follows. If the variances are granted, will they cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or cause a detriment to nearby properties? We find this question is no. The existing sign foundation and lighting will remain. Following revised designs, the sign will have a more round top. Yes, we'll have a more round top similar to the existing design, which provides a less commercial feel than the initial proposed design. And the applicant revised the design to be closer in size to the existing sign on the property. With these designs, the new sign will closely match the existing sign. B, can the benefit Can the benefits sought by the appellant be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance? We find the answer to this question is no. The applicant represented the need to incorporate a new building within the campus, thus promoting the request for a larger sign. To incorporate the additional building, a larger sign was required. The existing sign with a different building is rather illegible as it is now. However, the applicant revised the design to provide a better legibility of the buildings while also providing adequate space to fit the additional building name on the sign. Is the requested area variance substantial? We find the answer to this question is yes. New sign will be a total of 24.96 square feet, which is an increase of 16.9 square feet to the existing sign, which is already substantial to the required total of 8 square feet of sign area in residential districts. The 16.96 square feet is substantially greater than the maximum 8 square feet required at the Rhinebeck zoning law, chapter 125-37-J-4. That said, through its redesign of the sign, the applicant has decreased the requested variance from its initial proposed design. Will the proposed variance have an adverse impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district? We find the answer to this question is no. The new sign will match existing with monument structure and lighting remaining the same. Is the alleged difficulty self-created? We find the answer to this question is no. Due to the additional facilities, the existing sign area and lettering coverage cannot meet, that should be existing sign area. Existing sign area and lettering coverage cannot meet chapter 125-37J4 or 125-37M3B. The ZBA asked whether the buildings could be listed elsewhere on the campus to avoid the need to include the buildings on the sign. The applicant has stated that they do require the buildings on the sign for proper direction and notice to passing drivers of the buildings on the campus. In order for reasonable legibility, the sign would need to be more than 8 square feet in size, thus requiring a variance. Minimal variance, number 11, minimal variance requested. In addition to our review of the 5 factors and balancing test, we must also determine if this requested variance is the minimum variance necessary and adequate to accomplish what is requested by the applicant. We find the answer to this question is yes. The existing sign is already out of conformance with the Rhinebeck zoning law. We find increasing the existing sign from 23.84 square feet to 24.96 square feet, a difference of 1.12 square feet, will not unreasonably exacerbate this unconformity. The variance of that should be, that's wrong. That should be 20, that should be, make a correction. The variance of 24.9 square feet from the maximum 8 square feet required in the zoning law for signs is a major deviation from the zoning law provision, but is a small change from the existing sign currently on the property. The applicant has no other feasible alternatives for directing visitors to other buildings along Brookmead Lane while maintaining legibility. Now, therefore, be it resolved based on all the facts described above and upon the reasoning described above as follows. Section 1, the ZBA hereby approves the variance requested by the applicant, finding that the benefit of the applicant does not outweigh the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such a grant. The new sign has been redesigned to be closer to the current design and the sign document and sign of the documents, thus not creating drastic change to the existing conditions. The new signage will have lettering as shown on drawings by Optimus Architecture dated 9-1-2020. Section 2, granting these variances are especially contingent upon the design submitted to the ZBA dated September 1st, 2020. The applicant is directed for the full payment to the town of Rhinebeck of any and all fees and escrow deposits due in connection with this application in full compliance with Article 14 or 14. Fee reimbursement of the town of Rhinebeck zoning law. The granting of these variances does not absolve the applicant from having to secure any other required permits or approvals. The proposed structures must be constructed in conformity with the application and plans submitted dated September 1st, 2020. The area variance shall be null and void unless proposed construction is commenced with 1 year of this resolution. I make a motion to approve the resolution as read.
Tim, I have just a few little corrections that I caught. So under number 6 for referrals and responses, those codes this is the second paragraph.
Kim is I don't know, she seems to just sort of be like an advisor to them.
Kyle, could you mute yourself? Thanks.
Yeah. 125-3, it should be, instead of 127, it should be 125. 125-37A.
Okay.
125-37B, which is fine. 125-37P1, which is fine. And then 125, it's 37, not 36.
Kim, I don't know if, are you done? Because I had a few things too.
I just have a few more, Dave.
Go ahead. Sure.
Under number 9 for the balancing test, this line says that the revised sign design dated September 2nd should be the plan was submitted to Chris, who forwarded to us on September 2nd, but it's dated September 1st. So I would change that to September 1. For on the next, under the findings section B, I would change it, instead of saying appellant, change it to applicant.
Okay.
And for number C, the second line, the new sign will be a total of 24.96 square feet, which is an increase of 16.96 square feet. That's to the required 8 square feet sign, not the current sign is actually 24 square feet. So it's not an increase from the current sign, but it's from the
from the 8 square.
So I would just take out, so I should read it's a total of 24.96 square feet, which is an increase of 16.96 square feet to the required total of 8 square feet of sign area in residential districts, and is substantial.
Okay.
And I can provide edits to catch that.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, you could probably take out that next sentence too. It's just kind of redundant.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And then you caught the, this is actually how it's written. This is under the now therefore be it resolved, section 1. You had just read it to say it does not outweigh, but if we're granting the variance, the benefit does outweigh. That's what it says in the resolution. You just said it does not. So
did one of you catch? I may not be seeing the right version, but in the paragraph above that where it says 224.96 square feet.
Yeah,
I think Tim caught that while he was reading it.
Okay. Good, thank you.
And that's all the comments I have.
Okay. Tim, I had just sent during the break my edits, which are many, but I guess I'll just, I mean, they're really just sort of for errors in clarity and grammar, some of which Kim just found. I guess I'm just going to focus here on the substantial one or ones.
Okay.
So in E, where is it? 10E is the alleged difficulty self-created, and I think you said no. And I would argue yes, it's the applicant's decision to add the new building to the sign. I don't think it's any law or rule that they do so. And so I changed that to yes with some different text, but the result is the same. I'm not suggesting we change our resolution. But I do think it's a self-created problem. Is there an argument against that?
Well, I thought like when Patrick was presenting that the concern was that they had to have it on that sign.
Right. But I think that's their corporate policy. It's an internal policy. It's not a Rhinebeck law.
I think the argument on the other side is just that in order to have sufficient information so people can safely see this and stop, and they had to make changes because of the changes to the campus, it has to be this size. And, so in that sense, it's not a self-created thing. I hear what you're saying.
Okay, I mean, I guess I would argue it is self-created, but I'm not going to go to the mat on that. It's fine if you want to keep it that way. I just think it's their policy. It's not any requirement.
But I guess regardless of what their policy is, in order to reasonably make this sign visible to people going by at 45 miles per hour, so that they can get the information they need to hopefully see the sign in time and make the turn safely. They need to have a sign of this size. And I don't know, I could go either way in it too, but
yeah. As I say, it's not critical, and it doesn't change my view of the final resolution anyway.
Yeah,
I would
and I'll
say,
be very,
the Baptist homes made a choice to expand, which is what's driving having to put more information on the sign.
Exactly.
And they're coming to the sign regulation. As a result, they may be making a legitimate argument with regard to the safety need for this, but by the same token, it's not something that's required. They're making a choice to do this.
Yep. So, I think just for complete accuracy, it would be, at least my vote would be, it is self-created, but again, I don't know if you want to put that to a vote itself or just leave it the way it is.
Well, I think we also had a discussion, about that you could argue that it's self-created because they felt some supreme necessity to list all 4 buildings, which is actually a branding problem, not a signage problem. They have these new buildings that they've marketed under their own name, and people don't necessarily all know Brookmead, so they have to list all 5, all 5 things. So I could probably end up siding with you, Dave, on it being self-created, but I also agree it wouldn't change my view of whether we should allow them to have the sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty ambivalent about the issue. I think that the sign that ultimately resulted from the kind of a tortured process is a much, much better sign than was originally proposed. And, I give kudos to the applicants in taking the suggestions from the board. And I think the board did a good job in bringing up very cogent changes, or good changes to make this thing. It's a good looking sign, in my opinion.
It's far more legible than it was.
Yes.
Yeah, all agreed on that one. Hence the resolution. Okay, well, I'm just going to leave that hanging there, I guess, for somebody to take or leave. And other comments are in the email, so I'm ready to vote on this one.
I mean, I don't have a problem changing it to yes. Do we want to do that, or we want to put it to a vote, or what?
I think it's up to our chairman.
I think the consensus, it seems like, is that I'll go either way. So I'll side and say that yes, it is, and because I liked John's argument, but again, regardless, it doesn't change the outcome, and that's always a sticky one, Tim. I always struggle with that one, and I think there's usually arguments on both sides.
Sure.
Well, if you want to go by a vote, should I open my mouth?
Why not? You're on the board.
I guess I like they made the problem.
So you would vote yes on the self-created, yeah.
Self-created.
All right, so I guess if we're going to go that route, it seems like we have a majority. Then here's the proposed language. It would say something like, we find the answer to this question is yes. It is the applicant's decision to add the new building to the sign, and due to the additional text, the sign area limits and letter coverage limits of chapter X, Y, and Z cannot be met. The ZBA asked whether the buildings could be listed elsewhere on the campus to avoid the need to expand the sign. The applicant has stated that it is internal policy to require the buildings on the sign to provide proper, and then continue with Tim's language. Anyway, something that reflects that what we just said, basically, which is that it's self-created, but we recognize the need for reasonable listing of the new building.
Yep. And you often find that hardships are self-created, and the variances are granted nevertheless. And so this is consistent with that.
Good.
Okay. So do I write that up?
Well, it's in your email, and Chris has it too. So however you both want to deal with it, I assume we can do that offline.
Yeah, I suggest that, Chris, just take Dave's language and plug it into that paragraph, substitute it for the original draft.
Okay, thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Anything else? So can I make a motion to approve?
With
Substituting Dave's language for the self-created hardship and
Correct.
And the other edits.
Edits that were discussed.
And I'll second that. Chris, you want to poll the board?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. All right, Tim Allen,
Yes.
Tim McAnapoli,
Yes.
Catherine Clark,
Yes.
Scott Bergen,
Yes.
Dave Tobias.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it.
Okay, we're almost done.
Yeah, one more.
One more, Tim.
All right, resolution of the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals in the matter of area variance applicant of 12468 Corp. ZBA case number 1001. Whereas background, 1, applicant is 12468 Corp., AKA Pritha Mittal, referred to here as the applicant. The applicant is represented before this board by Kyle Diamond of the firm of New Dimension Construction, Inc., as well as Melissa Baker and Dale Schaefer. Property involved. This appeal involves property located at 437-475 Mill Road in the town of Rhinebeck, and which bears the tax parcel number 6069-00-884024-0000. The applicant's property is 8.03 acres in an area and is located in the RA10 zoning district. 3, description of proposed project. The applicants propose to erect a 2-car garage measuring 25 feet by 30 feet on the northwest side of lot. Garage will be a single-story flat roof structure. The applicant does not meet 125-27-A-3, which prohibits accessory structure to be located closer to the front line than the principal structure. Additionally, the garage will be 28 feet 11 inches from the side yard setback pursuant to the zoning law section 125-27-A-2B. The side yard setback in the RA10 zoning district is 75 feet. 75% of the side setback in RA10 zoning district required for principal structures, thus requiring the applicant to obtain a 43-foot variance. ZBA review. Timeliness of appeal. The applicant filed an appeal with this board on August 8th, 2020, and has paid the requested fee. The appeal was filed within 60 days of the date of the ZEO's determination and appealed from dated July 14th, 2020, and thus the application is timely as required by section 125-125B of the town of Rhinebeck zoning law. This application was deemed complete and accepted by the board on August 19th, 2020. SECRA, the application was also before the planning board for site plan approval. The ZBA has deferred its SECRA findings to the planning board on September 8th, 2020. The planning board classified this action as a type 2 action. The ZBA accepts the planning board's classification and no further review is required pursuant SECRA. Referrals and responses. The application was referred to the town Rhinebeck Planning Board on.
Chris, do you have those dates of the
I
referral?
don't have those dates.
Yeah, I'm just pulling a file. Rhinebeck Planning Board for Mattel was August 20th, 2020. And then returned 9/15/2020. But I'll insert them in the.
Okay, and for the WAC?
And the WAC.
It was August 20th as well. And then I have it dated August 31st, 2020.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
The town board, the town of Rhinebeck Planning Board initially responded on September 8th, 2020, stating the requested variance raises no significant planning or environmental concerns. Following a site visit to the property, the planning board revised its response on October 5th, 2020, and noted that there were planning and environmental concerns, including 1, placement of the proposed garage over a precipice, and B, finding a lack of sufficient engineering information. On August 31st, 2020, The Conservation Advisory Board and Waterfront Advisory Committee commented that the proposed project is not expected to have significant impact, but suggested measures should be taken to prevent erosion of the earthen berm containment area be maintained to prevent slurry sediments from the geothermal wells from washing down the wooded slope. 7, public hearing. A public hearing on this appeal was duly advertised and held on September 16, 2020. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the public hearing was held virtually pursuant to New York State Executive Order 202.1, which suspended certain provisions of the open meetings law to allow a municipal board to convene meetings during a current pandemic via video conferencing and/or telephone conferencing. The public was afforded the opportunity to view the participant and participate during this public hearing. During the course of the public hearing, we received a letter from several neighbors, including Peter and Catherine Charapko, dated August 26, 2020, raising no objection and in support of the project. 2, Dr. Bert Nelson, dated September 4th, 2020, strongly encouraging the ZBA to approve the request. And 3, Catherine and David Razbazan, dated September 3rd, 2020, who raised no concern with the requested variance. Dr. Nelson also spoke at public hearing and referred to his written comment to the record. Neighbor Joel Herm also spoke during the public hearing and wanted to know if the applicant planned to take down any mature trees. The applicant said this hasn't been fully assessed yet, but they are adamant about trying to keep as much of the trees as possible. Applicant also stated the garage will have no heat and no lights on the no lights on the basketball court. A small fence will be installed to keep any basketballs from rolling into the neighborhood's property from the court. The public hearing was closed on September 16, 2020. 8, site visit. ZBA member Scott Bergen visited property on October 7th, and ZBA members Timothy Econopoli and Catherine Clark visited the property on October 8th, 2020, to observe firsthand on-site conditions, property characteristics, setting, surrounding environment, and the character of the neighborhood. Kyle Diamond provided the ZBA new rendering of the landscape around the proposed garage titled Mittal Residence, dated August 17th, 2020, page L100. The new drawings show 4 Norway spruces will be planted to reduce neighbors' view of the south foundation wall. No business or deliberations were conducted during the site visit. Findings of fact and conclusions of law. Balancing test. In our view of the variance sought, we have considered the benefit to the applicant if the area variances are granted as weighted against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such a grant. We determined that the variance requested should be granted because there is no detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by granting of these variances. Consideration of the 5-factor imbalancing test. In our determination, we have considered 5 factors by section 125-124C1 of the town Rhinebeck zoning law as follows. A, if the variances are granted, they will cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or cause a detriment to nearby properties. We find the answer to this question is no. The new structure will not be visible from Mill Road. Structure will be a single story with a flat roof making it a low-profile structure. On the north side of the structure, 4 Norway spruces will be planted, reducing sight lines from next-door neighbors' residence. B, can the benefits sought by the appellant be achieved by some method feasible for the appellant to pursue other than an area variance? We find the answer to this question is no. Due to the layout of the existing house, any other location of the property would make it impracticable to pull cars up to park inside garage. Is the requested area variance substantial? We find the answer to this question is no. Again, as stated above, the structure is a low-profile structure, will not be able to be seen by from Mill Road. Tree screening will be planted on the north side of the building to reduce visual impacts of foundation. D, will the proposed variance have an adverse impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district? We find the answer to this question is no. Same reason as above, the planning board has expressed some concern as to the precipice and engineering. We have not raised any similar concern. However, as the applicant is currently before the planning board and the planning board may want to consider requesting a review of the project by the town engineer to ensure safety and adequacy of the design. E, is the alleged difficulty self-created? We find the answer to this question is yes. The garage could be placed where a basketball court will be installed. Minimal variance requested. In addition to our review of the 5 factors and balancing test, we must also determine if this requested variance is the minimum variance necessary and adequate to accomplish what is requested by the applicant. We find the answer to this question is yes. Now, therefore, be it resolved, based on all of the facts described above and upon the reasoning described above as follows. The ZBA hereby grant the variance requested by the applicant, finding that the benefit of the applicant outweighs the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such a grant. The new structure will not be visible from Mill Road. Structure will be single-story with a flat roof, making it a low-profile structure. On the north side of the structure, 4 Norway spruces will be planted, reducing sight lines from next-door neighbors' residence. Section 2, the granting of these variances are especially contingent upon the following. Garage will be constructed, placed, and landscaped as shown on plans titled Mittal Residence Site Plan dated September 2020, pages C100, C101, C102, and C103. Section 3, the granting of these variances shall also be expressly contingent upon the applicant's full payment to the town of Rhinebeck of any and all fees and escrow deposits due in connection with this application in full compliance with Article 14 fee reimbursement of the town of Rhinebeck zoning law. These variances shall not be deemed granted until all such fees are paid in full by the applicant. Section 4, the granting of these variances does not absolve the applicant from having to secure any other required permits and/or approvals, including site plan approval from the town of Rhinebeck Planning Board. The proposed structures must be constructed in conformity with the application and plans submitted. If substantial changes are required from the planning board, the applicant will have to come back before the ZBA for any additional variances that may be required. Section 5, the area variances shall be null and void unless the proposed construction is commenced within 1 year of this resolution.
All right, good job. I had a concern. I went out to the site and my only concern is the ZBA and how they viewed things at the end there. And I just want to make sure that the granting of the variance is doesn't prejudice the planning board in any way, or at least we're, it's contingent upon the concerns of the planning board with regard to, I think they had some concerns about the engineering aspect of the footings or foundation of this house because it was so close to, or the garage, because it was so close to where the property drops off.
Right.
Can I have that same, had that same thought going through it and then having looked at the property, Scott? So on that D, and I guess this is partly a question to Kim and John, can we make the variance contingent on, I mean, we say we defer to the planning board, but can we make it contingent on their satisfaction that there's adequate engineering? And, like just planting those 3 Norway spruces there, I'm not sure how those trees are ever going to stay on that slope without some sort of other, reinforcement or something there. Tim, you probably have a better idea of that than I do, but I do think it's
looking at that, 'cause when we talked to him about that, I was actually surprised that the foundation was only going to have 4 feet of exposure on that. Like, he wasn't going all the way to the bottom of the hill. He was kind of going like into the side of the hill, and he was only going to have like 4 feet. And it was my understanding that the Norway spruces, and looking at the plan, was further down the hill, if not almost to that road area that was down below.
Yeah, it wasn't clear to me how far away they were going to be, but is there a way that we could strengthen that concern a little bit more as the contingency?
Well, I'm not sure that, I don't think that the board wants to make it a contingency. I think that what we do want to say is what's in front of the board right now, and this is, I think, what Kim tried to address at the language of section 4, is that what's in front of the board now is the variance that's proposed by the plan. I think that the variance needs to be limited to the plan as it's been presented to the ZBA, and I think section 4 does that. I think this matter is in front of the planning board. I did touch base with Michael Trimble, and the board's moving along in its review. The planning board said they really just wanted the ZBA to be aware of what their thinking was. But I think that issue is apt to be addressed by the planning board as part of its review. So I think the key here is, as presented, the board finds that the area variances should be granted, but if there end up being substantial changes during the planning board process, if different variances are required or distances change or something like that, they're going to have to come back to the ZBA.
But so just to push on that a little bit more, we're really granting variances for the positioning and the placement, not the engineering feasibility of that placement.
That's right.
Right. That's for the planning board to determine.
Right. So is there some language we could put in there that basically kind of says that in a much neater package than I tried to express it?
We could come up with something that, to say that we're not passing on the engineering integrity of what's been, of what's been proposed.
Yeah, that we're passing on the placement and that impact on the neighborhood and a lot, but not on the engineering efficacy of this, of the placement and the structures.
Right, right. And Michael understood that the board's brief here is to look at the, at the balancing test factors. And the planning board has at their disposal, their own consulting engineer to help them sort out what, whatever concerns they may have about the engineering issues. But we can come up with something that we can add that puts into words the concept that you're expressing.
Okay, does that sound okay to other people on the board?
Yes, I mean, I like the project, and I just kind of get spooked a little bit when you receive something like that from the planning board, which is extremely unusual. I can't recall ever seeing something like that. I mean, well, quite frankly, when I did the site visit, I thought that it belonged where it belonged. And I didn't have a quarrel with the placement of the garage. But I thought it was fine. And the renderings, it looks like a nice project. But again, I just got spooked by the planning board's, last minute. I don't want to say last minute. It's almost a pejorative, but I mean, just their concerns immediately before a site visit.
Right, right. Well, if we could do something like that, John, and if it's all right with other folks on the board, I'd certainly feel more comfortable with that. I think it's a minor change, but it just highlights their responsibility and what we're actually approving.
I agree. I think it's a good change. I agree it's a minor change and it's something we can do. We'll come up with some language that puts that into effect.
Okay, great, great, thank you.
Keep it under 64 pages.
Yeah.
We'll make an effort to do that, Tim, but I can't promise.
Well, just give it to Kim. She can
Yeah, I'll get it
boil
down
it
to
down.
60.
So
Anyway.
I never knew the planning board got involved with engineering. Why would they get involved with it?
Well, they get involved with engineering actually all the time in connection, particularly with site plan reviews. And they have a consulting engineer, Ray Drakowski is from Clark Patterson, is Rhinebeck's town engineer. Yeah. And they consult with Ray pretty much on anything that's not basic or anything even on basic projects that present engineering questions. Like, this is fairly simple, but the issue with this slope and the support of that structure and all that is something that they'll based on their comments, they'll want some advice on.
Okay, anything else? And if not, Tim, do you want to make a motion?
I just have one quick correction. On page 1, number 3, you mentioned it's a 43-foot variance. It's actually 46. That goes to Scott's question earlier today regarding this ferret. So anyway, we'll just make sure to change that so that they're getting the accurate variance.
On where is that?
Page 1, paragraph 3, description of the proposed project. Like the last line in that says that they the applicant to obtain, and it should be a 46-foot variance.
All right, well, since you're doing that, section 2 on the last page, second line, place should be PLACED.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Tim, you got a motion to make?
Yes, I do. I make a motion to approve the resolutions with the modification of background paragraph 3, changing from 43 feet to a 46-foot variance, and the correction of the correction on what page was that, John?
That was 3, section 2, I think. Placed, and also the additional language to deal with the concerns of the planning board.
Okay.
Yes.
Second.
Okay. Chris.
Sorry. I'm just making a correction.
Okay, all right.
Tim Allenbrook, Tim Knopfler,
Yes.
Catherine Clark,
Yes.
Scott Bergen,
Yes.
Dave Tobias.
Yes.
All right.
All right, gang. I think we're done for the night. Any other issues, concerns?
Don't you want to go to 4 hours?
No. No. You can go to 4 hours. You can stay on by yourself.
Yay.
Anyway, again, I want to say thank you to Kim and John, who made me look good with that resolution I read on Patel. I thought that was a really good job. And good job, Tim, on the 2 resolutions. And
Yeah, I want to say thank you to Tim also, because first of all, getting 2 resolutions in one meeting is no bargain. And especially when they're your first resolutions. And there were some issues to be sorted. So anyway, Tim, I thought you did a great job. Thank you.
It was
I really appreciate it.
You're here.
big help. Thank you.
Good work.
all right, gang. Well, I've had enough of you, so I think it's time that we adjourn. So I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second?